But no, Beth York goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory. Hello everybody and welcome back to more CVRcade World Cup Racing live here in Mixer on the CVR World Cup page. As always, my name is Jesper Anker and I will be guiding you through the action as it unfolds live here on your screen. This is the $25,000 prize purse tournament that's been going on for 7 weeks now. We're coming to the end of the second week. These will be the last 2 races where riders can gather points ahead of next week's tournament. The seeding will be determined after the racing here in zones K and L. So coming up on your screen, we've got 2.5 hours of excellent, high quality, entertaining physical esports where riders across the world have hooked up their indoor bikes and they're getting ready to cycle away and power out their avatars in the game. They're gonna have to make decisions. Do they sit in the draft? Do they use their power-ups? Do they spend the energy? Because now, it's now or never in terms of getting points. It's close at the top, currently sitting second overall behind this morning's winner on the Omnium Tim Fulford is Moti Pikelny. Moti, second overall in the cycle data rankings. You're sitting up there nicely. I think you're only about 50 points behind Tim, and there is a chance for you to get the top spot. What would that mean to you?
Oh, that would be amazing. It's been a real hard-fought bracket session, and boy, the points on offer this week with these longer omniums have been intense, and we all have a lot of miles and watts in the legs, including Tim, who took it this morning. So we'll see what I can do, but I'm pretty content to be up there at the top, but wouldn't mind moving up. That would be awesome.
You raced this morning as well in support of Sebastian, Daniel, Sadeo. Did you learn something while doing these tracks earlier today?
I learned that I should probably have my coffee before I ride my bike, not after. It seems to make a difference. Also, just a lot of different strategic things that played out in the earlier races that we'll be trying to either copy, avoid, or switch up. You know, every time we ride these courses, we learn something new, and every time we ride the courses, somebody does something new. So I expect we'll see more of the same today, and it's always something new, exciting, and different.
I like it. I look forward to something exciting and new here in the broadcast. Final word before the racing begins. This morning, Ryan, it was heartbreak for Velocity Vixen. When Beth York went down on Temple Run, hearts across the world stopped for a second. Will you be a bit more successful and keep the rubber side down tonight?
I didn't watch this morning, but sounds like Beth did quite an effort. Yeah, I'm gonna try. I admire anybody who, just going back to Moti, came this morning and is showing up again. I mean, I'll do back to back, but to show up and then to go about doing whatever else you're doing during the day and then to come back and race again, that's very admirable. So kudos to those people. But yeah, hopefully Jeff and I show some good results for Velocity today.
Dedication from the riders around the world as they know the $3,000 are up for grabs very soon with the bracketed sessions coming to a close. Thank you, Ryan, and good luck with the racing. Also broadcasting in today, we've got Ben Shuey along for the second time today. He raced E this morning and he's back for his last preferred zone. There's a smile on his face because he knows a good result is knocking on the door. Jeff Rooney is back. He's bought a new webcam and we can actually see the Jeff Meister in full force. Also back into the racing is Niels Heldens. We'll be seeing here in the no skill event who has brought the initial A game, because every point ends up mattering here in the CVRcade World Cup. Somebody who knows that better than anyone else Joining me here in the commentary booth today after a brief hiatus is everybody's favorite CVRcader, Frank Garcia. Welcome back, Frank. How are you doing?
Good, good. How are you doing?
I am very good as well. I'm looking forward to some intensive racing, Frank, because this week, Tuesday was tough, Thursday to some degree looked tougher, and then this morning, do you think we're going to start to see some tired legs?
Oh, absolutely tired legs. I thought the event organizers would take it easy and maybe dial it back in anticipation of next week, but it looks like they did the opposite and dialed it up. So I think it's going to be hurting. I saw I took some previews of E so I could co-commentate, and I was like, ouch. I saw some heartbreak out there in E.
What did you make of E? From watching it, keeping notes, keeping track of what's going to happen tonight, which notes did you make?
Well, I think Temple Run is vicious and tactical, and I'm looking really forward to that. Here the riders are really, getting their legs ready, getting them spun out. I think these no-skill events, which really aren't no-skill any longer, but they are good as warm-ups, sort of get the legs and the blood pumping, and minor points on offer here, and then you have the fireworks beginning with Temple Run next.
Now, something that's been added this week is a win to these no-scale events. What do you make of that?
Have I said how much I hate wind? I think it's a thing every time I hear wind to say that I hate it. So just like outside, the wind in Cade has the same effect, and so you really have to pay attention to it. It can be very tactical to get behind someone and save yourself from the wind. It changes how you use power-ups. The wind at your back power-up becomes almost OP. It's not OP because everyone has one, and as long as you use it into a headwind, it's an amazing power-up. But if you use it in tailwind, it gives you almost nothing. So really important in how it changes the tactics.
700 meters remain. Just like that, the no-scale event is coming to a close here. Everybody enjoying the brief warm-up session, but now they're going to get ready to sprint all they've got. If they want those 30 points at the top of the rankings, we see Ryan currently on the screen. He did win one earlier this week. It's going to come down to who nails that timing. 400 meters remain. We wait in anticipation. Who will be the first one to go? There, Ryan stands up. Niels Heldens has gone as well, but 1300 equalized watts doesn't look to be enough, but he gets a saving grace from Ryan. He's in the draft. If he can come around here, he's got a chance, but currently it looks like Velocity Vixen with an advantage on the inside lane though. Ben getting second. That was close, Frank.
Yeah, that was interesting to see the inside and the outside. Really, that's you need probably an extra 40 watts on the outside to make that sprint at the same timing. So interesting choice by people. What lane they chose here.
We've seen that before, specifically on this course, the outside lane versus the inside lane. Peter even sacrificing some of his momentum to go on the inside lane. You see the difference here. Ben sneaking by on the inside to take the second place, but Ryan Goldenberg launched it. We saw him wind it up, taking the victory. But I think, he's back on his bike. Ryan, congratulations taking that win. We did solo you out on the final lap, thinking you've got a chance. You nail it, but was there not a thought in you going, oh, Niels is going to come back, or somebody on the inside might take me?
Yeah, I thought I got to the front a little bit too early. They weren't that far behind, and I thought their draft benefit was gonna get them to catch up to me. I'm not sure what was going on behind me in terms of comeback kids, but yeah, definitely worried. I know on this, I think exact same event before, maybe not the same number of laps, but Dark Matter Tech, no skill. I tried changing lanes and it didn't work out, so I just stuck to that outside lane and gave it what I had.
It worked out for you, took the win, but just briefly ahead of Ben now. Coming into this race, Frank called it vicious. What is your take on Temple Run coming up next?
Yeah, it definitely can be. I think this is the longest event of the day. So not making mistakes, watching the corner speeds, staying with that front group. all those things contribute to making it quite vicious.
I'm excited to see how it unfolds. We've got Ben Shui along teed up and ready as well. Ben, that inside lane, it almost paid off. Was there a bit of an adrenaline rush as you took Nils and you thought, oh, I might sneak the inside line here and take the win?
Yeah, very much so. I didn't think it would have such a big impact. But boy, you know, as soon as I swung to the left, I just seemed to be going so much faster than everyone else on the right. So, yeah, super pleased with that.
Second time racing today, Ben, your preferred zone. This is your last preferred zone in the CVRcade World Cup bracketed session. I've asked you this time and time again. Is today your day, Ben?
Never say never. Let's see.
I love it. Thank you, Ben. Good luck with the racing. A rider who was pipped just on the line, who's back for more as well in the Team Sky kit. Nils Heldens. Nils, bit of a heartbreak on the line, but how much does that third place, how much is that going to matter in the grand scheme of things?
Probably not a lot. It's, you know, obviously one multiplier. The other ones have 2 or higher. So I think at the end of the day, it's not going to matter too much. But obviously, if you win by 1 point because of this event, you'll be happy you had a good result.
You're on your own this time, Nils. No Timothy, no Quentin, no Tim. What's the strategy here? It's not often we see you all on your lonesome.
Just send it. That's the strategy. Yeah.
I can commend that. Thank you, Nils. I'll let you get ready. Frank, that last race, that was close. And we saw earlier today, like, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Come the end of the day, they were only differentiated by, like, 3 points. How do you, in your head, keep track of this but not get tilted when you lose by 3 points like that?
Well, a couple of things. Before I answer that question, I just want to say that I think that cyclists know pi, but they don't know pi.
Okay.
And that cryptic comment was pi as in pi. So that radius on the corner does mean you have to travel quite a further distance. And so you heard Ben talking about how surprised he was, and thus my 40 watts comments. You need about another 40 watts on the outside, maybe more, than you would on the inside. Now, of course, you got the draft and all the other things to sort of, you know, factor in to that. The way that I typically keep that in my mind is just to either decide I'm going to go for the win in the no skill event, or just to ride it to open up the legs. And if I'm just opening up the legs, I'm going to get all those points back somewhere else. So usually when I get to the end, it doesn't bother me too much, the 3 points one way or the other.
I've seen this message on the screen now. I'm not sure if everyone else is getting it, but it says 35 seconds until the next race begins. Just a heads up to those listening to the broadcast. The last time I saw that message happen, it brought everybody back on submerged stadium. So just be aware that if everybody else is having this, I can't speak for everybody because I have it, but if you do see it, it might bring you back. So be ready for a possible event restart if it does happen, but we'll see now. We'll keep an eye on it. But so far, everybody keeping calm in there together. Tempo run, 3 laps in this. It's tough and it is high skill. Now, my countdown has run down, as you can see. Nothing happened, so all is safe. But Frank, high skill event on tempo run, that is next level because we only see low skill on this course.
Yes, I think it's much better as a high skill event, as we saw in E. Everybody just sort of taking it easy. Big long course today. And so I just think everyone's just going to sort of sit in for a while, and then we'll see if some people sort of take off. But I think people are going to try and get people stuck in particular lanes and hitting rocks. Look for a lot of that today.
We're already seeing one attack off the front here. Nils Helden said he was just gonna send it. He's all by his lonesome. Earlier today, Peter Castro did this exact strategy to him. And I think that left a bit of an empty feeling in his stomach. He really wanted that victory, and now him and Alison Kubota, a fresh Alison Kubota, are going off the front. We look back to the chasing group here, Frank. Who can we expect to mark this move?
Well, I find this to be a very good move. If I'm Ryan and Casey, I definitely want to bring this back. Because if I see Ellison will just go to the front and pull forever, all the way to the end. And you can almost count on Ellison to do that. So I love being in a break with Ellison. I will do it every single time. And you can see here, now if I was Eels, I would just pull like there was no tomorrow and try and get some separation with me and Ellison, because I know Ellison would pull with me the rest of the way. But you got strong riders. Getting back in, Casey playing it smart, using Ryan to bridge back up.
I think Niels is also slightly wary about the track coming up after this, because Dark Maravello, as Tim put it, he had a bit of a mare earlier today, and he's a strong racer, he's a clever racer, but the tracks like that requires just time and effort on it. I do know that Timothy Tamont took Niels for a few spin around Dark Maravello, so it'll be interesting to see how much he was able to pick up in that time. But Allison is up there. What this does allow is that Moti Bikelny does not need to take a turn on the front in this chasing group. Casey is there, Ryan is there, but his teammate Allison is up the road. And this is early on into the racing, Frank. This is going to split things up, you'd imagine.
Yeah, this is going to split things up big time. So you see Kayla and Ben back a bit. I think that's probably a mistake. They want to be a little bit closer. I think you see Nigel playing the bot patrol will come back, I hope. But when you have the likes of Ellison and Casey and Ryan and Moti up here, there's no chance the bots are coming back today.
Well, we know, Nigel. This is funny. It's interesting development because riders get kind of comfortable doing what they know works. And for someone like Nigel, the last few times he's raced, he stuck with the bots. The bots have brought him back. And then on Cityscape New York recently, he was up to get a second and a third place with his teammate. But on a track like this, when it's high skill today, the bots will crash. And I think Nigel didn't take that into consideration because the bots have just tumbled over. And now he's going to have to make a commitment. Do I bridge the 10-second gap or what do I do? But the front group is now all back together. Niels Heldens, Alison Kubota, Casey Shum, Ryan Goldenberg, Moti Bikelny as Alison goes down. Oh.
That one hurts. I think she might have forgotten the high skill.
You just get lulled into a false sense of security. When we do, for the longest time, we've done certain tracks and certain skill levels. This has always been a low skill event. Allison,
oh, this could be problematic. This is a tight corner. She's going in hard to.
We see Allison further back with double power-ups, with Racer's Edge. Oh, weight lifted Racer's Edge, and she's using them without the inertia too. So when she pulls the trigger eventually on inertia, it'll be at a lower speed. So we'll see. But Frank, I think she'll get back.
I don't know. This is, like I said, you've always got to look at your opponents. And you've got some really strong riders. And if they start taking turns at the front, it's sayonara. And Ellison is the kind of rider who I hate to say it right now, but I love her in my break. But if I have her off the back, I'm going hard, not letting her back.
All is fair in the name of the game, but I think there will be some looking around near the front as Nils crashes down as well. We just cut to the front group and Nils, not knowing the exact corner speeds there, and slides out. Now he finds himself back some from first down to seventh, all in the space of about 2 kilometers or so. Still very much up in the air, but what happens in the front? Because Casey's there, Moti's there.
They just need to sell their souls. At this point, they should be making the break and then holding down the power. But it looks like they're not going to commit to it. Looks like Casey's committing to it a little bit. Ryan, yeah, they're pushing it a little bit. But look, their heart rates are down around 160, 170. This is going to be Grupo Compacto here shortly.
Casey is playing charade on stream, so I'm not sure who his partner is, but somebody's trying to figure out exactly what all those signals mean. Further back, brother-in-laws Ryan Goldenberg, MoTP Kelney, they are finding himself in second and third. But I still think, Frank, with the team player Moti is, he will not take a turn because he wants to try and see all Cognition riders succeed. So I think Moti will just sit on the back here and bring Allison back up.
Yeah, it definitely looks like. Of course, Allison's burning her power-ups, which is what I think you should do. Sometimes I see people hold on to their power-ups till the end. We know we've had that debate multiple times. But I think that's what power-ups were born to do. Get you back or get you off the front, and that's how they ought to be used. A lot of people try and save them for the sprint, but I usually think that's a mistake.
It's all going to come back. So Grupo Compacto, as Frank says, 2 riders come back. Allison, Kayla, Ryan now sneaking away. There's a lot of looking around here amongst the front riders. Like, everyone is nice.
I'd let Ryan go.
You think so?
Yeah, I'd just let Ryan go. Oh, I'd let him burn his legs up. One rider with this many strong riders, I'd say, yeah, I give you 5 seconds and then hold you there.
How about Kayla Laguna, Frank, coming back into the racing? She is one that you've raced with time and time again. She's had a break from the racing. Now she's back in. It's good to see her racing because she is, or was just at 198 equalized heart rate.
Yeah, it's good to see her. I think she's going to be a little off her game. Maybe for a couple of weeks. Maybe she'll peak right at the right time with the grand finale. But certainly, I think she's going to suffer a little bit more than everyone else, and I think she's got to be careful, make sure she doesn't overdo it, and go back onto the injured reserve list like me.
It's tough though because you've been out for so long and you remember what you were used to you remember what you used to do and you try and replicate that your first time back and then you get met with the harsh reality that sometimes is. We've got Casey, we've got Ryan on the front, Moti bringing back Allison. I think we'll look to Cognition here to be the first ones to really commit to a move. If they can get Allison in a solo breakaway, we know she's not really coming back. Same goes for Moti. So how do the other riders play this, Frank? Because there's no real team other than Cognition in this front group.
Oh, don't believe it. You've got Casey out there, and Casey is sort of the master of the stealth team, and also one of the best teammates on the planet when it comes to virtual cycling. So I'll take Casey on my team every day of the week and twice on Sundays, as they say. And so I just have to believe that there is, is it Ryan? Is it Kayla? Who is it exactly? But I guarantee you there's somebody here that will be working with Casey for the win.
The journeyman Casey Shulman. To even back up that statement even further, there was an interesting post on CVRcade not too long ago saying, if you left your jersey in the wash, what other team would you be looking to join for a day? And unanimous, it was Team Experimental, and even Peter Kashrub said, I'd like to race with Casey Shum. So positive racing comes on through, but you can see Ben even going as far as taking out the earphones. So I'm sorry, Ben, but it seems like he's in a world of hurt over in the back of Tempo Run, but that is funny. Jeff Rooney also in 8th. He had an early crash on this track, and he's just rocking away, trying to salvage as many points as he can, because there are 5 races in total, and 2 are done. But on the front now, we do see an attack.
Yeah, Mati's done the attack here. He's 5 seconds up, and on cue, Kayla's like, we're going to leave you right at 5 seconds. I think she'll look to hold 5 seconds. You see Casey on the wheel there. I think you're seeing that stealth team. Green on green, just different shades, it looks like, are going to team up. And Ellison, be interesting to see if she counterattacks on the catch. But if I am Casey and Kayla, I don't think I catch him right away. Like I said, I think I let Moti burn himself up for a bit, like a long bit, like another lap.
And with that in mind, because, Casey's got to be careful here. He does get on through, but the rocks are solid in this track. Now, you're not only thinking about this track, you're thinking about Dark Maravello, you're thinking about Roman Arena and Dust Bowl Crit. The more energy, the more belief you can suck out of MotoGP Kelly, the better it is in the long run. Because Frank, what we saw in Zone E was that Peter Kastrup on this course, unbeatable earlier this morning. But then come Roman Arena, we saw the first few cracks, and on Dust Bowl Crit, it was game over.
Yeah, one of the things that you're seeing as we set up for the tournaments is we're going more lengthy, and you can sort of go really hard for an hour in multiple events. But when it starts to stretch out to an hour and 15 or an hour and 30, boy, those efforts that you do in the earlier events will come back to haunt you.
That's why, for those that have taken part in the old school co-op or head-to-head Saturday tournaments when we used to do 3 to 4 hours, they've got an advantage, so that'll be fun to see. I'm excited for the tournament, Frank. Like, the Omniums are great, these massive races are great. How do you think the racing is going to shape up once we get to next week and we get to unveil all this information?
Oh, I think there is going to be some fantastically fun viewing and racing. I think it's going to be super intense. I won't share any secrets until you do, Jesper, but I just think it's going to be fun to watch.
I cannot wait. Also because it's a different shade of racing. We've seen this so much, but what happens when you change the variable of the amount of racers, etc.? That'll be fun to watch next week as the riders get ready. Allison once more! Oh, Frank, is there something with cognition? Because earlier today, the Canadian Ninja Warrior Daniel LeBlanc had like 5 crashes on this track.
I think one of the things that happens, you saw a lot of lane changing there in the peloton, the small group that we have off the front, and I think sometimes you start to pay attention to where they are and where you need to be, and you forget to check your corner speed. And then, or you tried to move to the inside, or you tried to brake, sort of panic braking, which will make you slide out a little bit faster. You've got to do that a little bit earlier. Any of those things could have cost Ellison there. She's a veteran racer, so I suspect it was be something like that as opposed to, some other issue.
Last lap is coming up. Casey and Kayla, while the commotion behind, they do seem to be very in sync here, just riding off, just continuing out the pacing. But when you look at the equalized heart rates, it does seem to favor Ryan here a tiny bit. But last lap is coming up, Frank. The inertias are looming. One of the most powerful power-ups in the game. Neil's being forced to use his. How do you think we'll see them deployed?
I don't know. I have this strange feeling. I saw Ryan doing a little bit of blocking for Casey and Kayla, so I actually think Cognition is the team at a disadvantage here because I think you have a stealth team in Casey, Kayla, and Ryan, and I think Ryan is known for his blocking. I don't think Casey will do any blocking. Oh well, I shouldn't say that. If you tilt Casey, you could get Casey to do some blocking, and you see he's not going super hard here. So just trying to let some people, off the front. Looks like Ryan, Casey, and Kayla are making a move, and they'll all move away. So this is very, very interesting. Kayla looks to be in the hurt locker, up at the 190 on her heart rate, and Ryan looks to be very, very comfortable. And then you have Modi off the back here, but trying to go very, very hard. It'll be interesting to see if he can bring this back.
I like the smile on the face that you got out of Ryan when you said Ryan known for his blocking. You can definitely tell. Some people they do question when they get called out, but then they look at the tapes and they're like, oh, I forgot about that one. Oh, and that one. They're like, okay, I'll go back in my box. Kayla, 193. It's good to have her back in the stream. She's been missed, but I'm looking around. It's going to be a game of who can time their powers, because earlier today we saw Timothy Tamont crash going uphill with his inertia deployed at the same time. Niels is without his. Moti here, Frank, is showing signs of weakness dangling on the back here.
Well, he did zone E, and that zone was very, very hard. So interesting to see how he will perform in this zone. I mean, he's made it back here. Everybody's starting to hit into the the 190s, and you got Kayla playing with a power up here.
defensive power up here on the front just to catch a breather. She is at her limit, 195. She can see the very iconic slightly head tilted to the side from Kayla. Means she's feeling it on the edge here, but one power up down, 3 kilometers remain, but it's on the verge of stringing out here. 192 from Nils, 190 from Moti, 185 from Ryan. The equalized heart rates are coming up now, Frank.
Yeah, this is where you're just looking to break someone's spirit, I say. We probably ought to say break someone's heart, although we usually save that for the romantic venues. But really, that's what you're trying to do, just break someone's heart, race away from them, and they just sort of go, like that's it. They throw up their hands, they wave at the camera, they say, hasta la vista, bye-bye, and just let you go. And then you can back off a little bit. And as my cycling coach always used to say, whenever you're hurting, remember they're hurting, and try and make them hurt a little bit more, and they'll give up.
You see Ryan at 460 equalized watts. He wants to get back on top. He's definitely had his maple syrup this morning as he's trying to get back up to Kayla. Niels comes on the inside though. Niels is at a disadvantage. He does not have his powers. Moti P. Kelly! What the heck? Razor's Edge. Everything gets deployed here, Frank. That was a surprise attack.
Well, I think he just told you what he thought of your... He doesn't look very strong today. He looks super strong today. And now this is really a race between Moti and Casey.
Casey with inertia. I don't think it's that early to call it because behind Kayla, she doesn't have inertia. Ryan has got his. Ryan has got to be careful when he uses his inertia. If he still has it, he doesn't use it. He looks over. But that was impressive use of power-ups on the front. Shows the difference. And if we go back up to Casey Shum, his inertia timed very well to come over the top of Moti saying, I see what you've got, but I race you. And we've never really seen that performance of an inertia before from either racer, so that's really fascinating to see how the racing has evolved. But now you would assume Casey's running away with this.
Yeah, it looked like they were just shot out of a cannon.
Yeah.
I mean, that was talk about dishearten your opponents. That broke all the hearts. Ryan's, Kale's, Neil's, Ben's, Ellison's, Jeff's, Nigel's. I think even the AI bots were impressed with that use of power-ups. I mean, I certainly was.
Even the graves of future, like past crashes got on was like, what? Because they made other riders look like they were standing still. And don't forget, we're riding physically equalized. So it's not like Casey and Moti are just like, Tour de France grand champions. No, they're all in an evil playing field. And they just knew exactly how to deploy their power-ups in order to get that advantage. So Casey on the front, 10-second gap, and with 1 kilometer remaining, he understands the name of the game. Keep the rest at bay, but they're actually coming close here. As Ryan Goldenberg, you can see him on the descent. He's got inertia, and he saved it until this moment, Frank.
Yeah, wow. That is... I think he wanted to be shot out of a cannon, too. I think he probably should have used it a little bit earlier, and now he has to brake in that corner, and it's all gone. Wave bye-bye to Casey off there in the distance, and watch him put up his hands for victory here in about a minute.
Dark Maravella is coming up next, so don't go anywhere as the highly technical course is up after this, where the whole scoreboard can turn upside down. Ryan in a good position for second place, but Kayla, Moti... sorry?
Yeah, I think it's going to set up for a second. The sprint for second is going to be awesome. Oh, I think there was an attempted block there. That was interesting. I think Kayla was like, yep, I'm working for Ryan.
On the front, we see Casey. He's on the finish line. He gets to celebrate. He sips up the jersey. Team X taking a win here today. But Moti goes down.
Beautifully executed, Kayla. Oh, that was vicious.
What did we just miss, Frank?
Oh, the bumping that was going on as they went through that corner, and maybe it was Moti who made the mistake, but I'll always say that Kayla just put him down and put him out of his misery. That was just vicious.
2 times
I want to
today.
see that on replay.
That corner, Frank, has been the doom. We set up for a sprint. I remember you versus Tim way back in the day where you fought it out on Temple Run and we got robbed of a great sprint. That corner is a thief. Like, that corner takes away some great finales.
Yeah, that was a great finale. Come on, I think I didn't. Did you see Kayla fist pumping? She must have been fist pumping when that happened. I mean, I think she's trying to play, you know, the poker game here, just sort of stay nice and even keel. But she just sent Monty off. I mean, just pushed him off into the crowd. Said, "You're out of here, roller derby, Kayla." That was amazing.
New nickname has been christened for Kayla. Now, we've got Casey in the broadcast, so we're going to have a quick word with Casey. Last race, Casey, I have never seen that power-out combination used before. Was that something you knew going into the track, or was that something you just came up with on the fly?
No, I came into the race on the warm-up. Actually, I think I pre-rode the course with a controller, and I recognized when the course went flat at the top what that corner speed was before the rocks. I knew what I could do with the right combo there, and actually Moti set it up perfect. I think everybody thought I was countering Moti's move, but I knew the speed Moti had, and I knew I'd come by him if I sprinted hard.
Very well done. That was a tough-fought victory, but Dark Velo coming up next. How confident do you feel in this track?
No one is ever confident in this track. If you are confident, it will bite you. You have to respect this course, probably more so than almost any other one, because you only get about 3 seconds of relaxation between being careful.
Well, I think my co-commentator would disagree with you in regards to being confident and comfortable on this course, but we'll get back to him when the racing begins. Kayla, that sprint finish, that last corner, Frank said you could see you fist bump all the way over from here when that happened. Was that the case?
That was, yeah, the last corner. There was a lot going in that last corner. Marty and I were just neck and neck, right next to each other, and it's a little bit of a tight corner on that last one on Temple Run, right before the finish start line. So we just kept battling it out, and I just thought that maybe if, you know, we kept pushing the speed up a bit, that we'd keep sliding out. And I kind of took a risk on that one because there was the risk of me being able to crash into Marty as well with my speed, being able to go out into the corner. But it worked out. It was unfortunate for Marty, but the points are valuable in this one, and Marty's a tough competitor. So it was a lot going down. A lot happened in a short amount of time.
Is it good to be back racing, Kayla?
Yes. Oh, yeah. It feels great. My body is feeling it a little bit. My heart rate was up there, but it feels so good just to be back and just to be playing with everybody online. And I just have so much fun with this game, so it feels wonderful to be back.
Well, we are all glad to have you back in the broadcast. Thank you for streaming in and sharing the joys and sorrows that is CVRcade World Cup Racing. Here, to my left, we do have the full scoreboard, so if you want to see the standings as they currently stand, just have a quick look as Ryan is leading, Casey in second, Kayla in third, Will Nils in fourth. But do remember that Ben Shuilong and Jeff Rooney has this as their preferred zones. They both gain an additional 20 points, which actually puts Ben up into third place, 2 points behind Orion. But as the racing gets ready, Frank, earlier today it was Corner Caper City out of the gun. Do you think that will be the case once more here?
Yes, but I just do want to comment on that interview you had with Kayla, one of your better interviews, and I love it. Roller derby, Kayla sends Moti over the railing, and she's like, and I don't regret it.
That is the name of the game. I mean, earlier today you saw some feisty words as well with Peter Castro, Timothy Timon. Now, they did come to midfield and shake hands, and they were both just heat of the moment as Nigel goes down.
Oh, no, that was not Moti. That was somebody else. Sorry.
Casey goes down, though. Casey has crashed, and you saw it on the stream as well, regretting it. He's got to be careful because Nils could block him here accidentally, but both come on through. But just like that, Frank, Dark Matter Velo is not very forgiving.
It's not very forgiving, but you can make the time up. Now, Ben's got a big
Oh,
lead here.
Come on, Ben. Sorry for being biased, but for 3 weeks now, we've been saying
Do
this.
not jinx him. Do not jinx him. Do not say anything. You just have to remain quiet. As I was saying, Ben has moved to the top of the leaderboard. He's in good position here. He just really needs to mind his P's and Q's, dot his I's and cross his T's and just stay in rhythm.
It is so tough to be in this position, though, Frank. You time and time again have been here. How do you get time to look up the road and see if the lane ahead of you is blocked?
Well, it's an interesting thing. I think it's a skill that you learn, that you develop. And one of the ways that I developed it was with bots. And there was an interesting post on CVRcade Riders. I think the Rocket posted about it, and everybody was like, "We hate these bots. They get in the way." And I was like, "Yes, they get in the way." Game designer wanted them to get in the way, so that you had to choose lanes. There's some secrets with regards to the bots if you watch them to know which lane they're going to pick up in, and how to go through them and that sort of thing. So I think you get on a course like this and you practice with them a lot, and you just learn the skill.
It's getting tense. 2 laps remain. Ben, Jeff, Moti, all within a second of each other. Kayla is up there as well. But this is going to get close, especially with the lap riders. Ben Shuilong has been building up to this moment, and only 300 meters is between him and a first ever high skill victory. His teammate Nigel in front of him actually forcing him to take a less optimal lane change here. But we'll see if anyone else falls for it. 200 meters remain. He's got a 3-second gap further down.
Modi really gambling here to go in the same lane as a teammate. If I was Nigel, I think I might have braked there and just really put the hurt on Modi. Oh, Kayla with a corner caper at the end. Will it run out? Oh my gosh. Oh,
so close. She does get second, but that's a question of what could have been, Frank. Second place there, but if you think she uses that earlier, could she even have won?
I don't know. That was very interesting gameplay. I liked what she did there. And might I mention again, I think Modi and her, I don't know if they're going to come to midfield and shake afterwards. Is Modi going to want to shake hands? Puts Modi down into the barriers once again. So Kayla just really wrecking Team Cognition's hopes today and doing well for herself. She's up in fourth now, but only 1.5 points out of third, and only 7.5 points out of second place, and only 8 points out of first. Watch out for Kayla.
This could not have happened to Moti at a better time. We do have an interview lined up with him on Monday about the positive and negatives of racing. Excited to get his take. But Ben, it only took us this long into the CVRcade World Cup. Can I be the first to congratulate you? What was it like to not come third, not come second, but to finally win?
Oh, I'm over the moon. Oh, that was brilliant. I just wanted to be first in that first corner with the power up, and it worked. And then after that, I was just super careful. I mean, I tried to keep it like quite a bit less than the max speed for each, and just not crash. And despite your best efforts to try and jinx it,
I would never
hold it together.
I would never. I'm a professional here. We would never do such thing. But on the last few laps, you and Nigel have made a habit of accidentally making each other crash before. Did you think, oh no, not again, not again?
Not particularly. It's such a tight track. There's so many lanes that you can't ride that it's hard sometimes even to move out of the way. If you want to. So I just thought, I'll play it safe. I've got a bit of a cushion to the second place rider. So yeah, just went to lane, make sure I kept it. Give them a wide, didn't mess up each other's races. So yeah, super, definitely pleased.
Well, over the moon for you, Ben. Good luck in the next race. Somebody who's been on the opposite side of some of this is Mo TP Kelney. On Temple Run, Kayla Laguna took you down. Then again, on Dark Matter Velo, it was more the same story. What's been happening today, Moti?
Well, that was awesome. Temple Run, I was trying to crash her. That last curve was really, really tough. And I was trying to grab the outside spot and hope that she slid into me. But we were going a little bit too fast. Nathan, I'm on the podcast. Stop. And then I was trying to block her use of the corner caper on the last one. And I ended up crashing myself.
No words. I'll let you get back to it, Moti.
Somebody activated the 6-year-old child power-up in my basement. It's more effective than fire.
Oh, Moti, I've not been in tears in the broadcast before, but that has done it for me. Frank, what do you make of all of that?
Oh, well, first of all, you don't know how much it hurts to laugh, and I'm still laughing. So a couple of your best interviews, and whatever I was going to say, I've completely forgotten. That was awesome. Great family on the stream, and that was too good.
Let's see if we can bring up the scoreboard one more time as I'm just wiping away because, oh my goodness, that was so good. That is everything the race is about. Ben's on the top. Ryan, as you see on screen, is in second place. Casey in third. This was the tone setter in the previous zone. This was the one that really determined how it was going to unfold on Dustball Crit. And now we watch it again here in Zone K. It's going to be fun to watch how it unfolds. But Frank, what do you think? Low skill event this late in the racing. What do you make of that?
I think all the racers need a break in terms of the skill. Give the mind a little bit of a break here and work the body a little bit more. Especially after Dark Matter Velo, which is sort of the reverse. And so I think the riders should have quite a bit of energy coming into this race, and it'll be very, very interesting to see. I think Kayla played the power-ups well. She bumped in there. She bumped into somebody, probably cost her the win on the last track. And if she'd won there, she'd be at the top of the leaderboard. So with 2 races left, basically anybody sort of in the top 5 or 6 has an opportunity to win the Omnium overall. So this one's going to hurt the legs and expect some people to go hard.
That's what we like to see, though, with the Omnium scoring being so close. Ben does have a slight advantage here with the 20 points, but that can be nullified quite quickly. Kayla is also coming into form as the next zone is her preferred zone, but look at this. One long line, all stretched out, and on the front, it is Niels Heldens ditching out the pain here. I think he must be feeling it. He must be getting fatigued. He didn't have the best of races on Temple Run. Didn't have the best of races on Dark Matter Velo. What's the best way of ensuring that this race goes your way, Frank?
Well, probably not to sit on the front and pull. But sometimes that's just what you have to do. Mentally, you're just like, you know what? I've had enough of this, and I want to put everybody else into the same sort of hurt locker that I'm feeling today. And I think he's doing a little bit of that. Or maybe, he's Cycling Hub, so I don't really see any other Cycling Hub members in here. So I don't think he's really working for anybody else. Probably just trying to blow out the cobwebs of, how he's felt the earlier races have gone.
Makes sense as he sits now in second place, Casey in third. It's only 2 laps of Roman Arena. There is no crashing. The power-ups available are weight lifted, wind at your back, and as we just saw Moti P. Kelney use Path of Least Resistance. Him and Kayla both sitting at the back here. And Frank, something we don't quite always go into details here is the physics of the game. How much drafting, how much you actually experience if you're sitting 4th, 5th, 6th wheel here?
Well, it really depends on crosswinds, and we don't have any wind in this one. And so you really get about, if you're right on the back of the wheel, just a little bit over 30%. If you're in second position, 40% if you're in third position or up close to 40% in third and fourth position. Fifth and sixth position, you really start to get big drafts up in the 50 or 60%.
Moti just signaling he's got 50% draft, I believe, or it could be his age. We're not quite sure which of the two it is. But Ryan Goldenberg on the front.
Oh, that's just brutal.
I'm sorry,
That's just
but for
brutal.
making me get into tears in a professional broadcast environment. I mean, I'm sorry, Moti, but it's
Well,
funny.
I don't know if you've noticed, but Moti and Kayla are having their own little war, their own little private war here at the back, and I think it's karma, right? I think at this point, I don't even think they care about the front of the race now. It's just like, you know what? You put me over the rail. It's time for me to put my arm out and clothesline you into the back. Very interesting racing that's going on here. And I should, so people really understand on the broadcast, all jokes aside, you really don't crash another person. The other person has to make a mistake. And so this is all in good fun. Kayla and Moti are being good sports in terms of the broadcast. Or maybe they have secrets I don't really understand, because it sure looks like they are working one another over.
We saw, speaking of not being able to make another person crash, but unable to force them to make mistakes, that was essentially what started the spiral of Peter Kastrup on Dust Bowl Crit. Timothy Tamont sitting on the outside, sitting on his shoulder, and then when he slid out into Timothy Tamont, and then he fell over. And so that's also what we saw on the previous races with Kayla and Moti. And so I think both of them pure gamers. They enjoy the extra levels of, you know, getting in there and just seeing somebody, and over several tracks your story is developing, and that's what we're seeing here. And also, Frank, part of it could be that Moti sees Kayla as the biggest threat on the top.
Well, I think Ryan and Casey are just like, you just keep talking about Moti and Kayla. We're going to ride up here at the front and really go off. But I think I hope it makes the highlights, but Kayla, what she was doing on that sprint on Temple Run, she was gambling. She was really rolling the dice, and knowing she was rolling the dice, but going for it anyway. So that, you know, one of the great things about Cade is you can make that decision. I'm going to take this corner as close to the edge as possible, and I might crash and lose it all, but if I make it through, I'm going to get the win.
Now, Casey finds himself on the front, and to Frank's earlier note, anyone in the top 5, top 6, considering that Jeff has this as his preferred zone, can win today. I mean, with how the points are distributed, with Dust Bowl Crit coming up after this, that's why I think we're seeing some more look around, some more just waiting. The riders are looking at waiting for somebody else to make the first move and then jump onto it. But most often or not in those cases, whoever is the first to be assertive, to make that decision and commit, is the one that really achieves what they want to get. The second ones, they usually end up getting caught and passed over. So with that in mind, Frank, who do you look to try and instigate this attack?
Well, there's very interesting gameplay going on here. Cognition is definitely hampering Kayla for sure. And you know, Kayla's in the hurt locker, and so I think they're just trying to ride her off the back. And you know, when you're in the hurt locker, like, this is a really interesting. You see Kayla, she gets right behind Cognition again, and it's just because you just need a wheel, right? You know, it's not the right wheel. But you're like, I need any wheel. I'll take any wheel, even though I know it's the wrong one. And at the front, you see Ben, Ryan, and Casey going, keep talking about those guys. We're going to move away on the front. Ben must be feeling really good today.
I think he's riding a high. Like, winning Dark Matter Bella, that injects some happiness into your life.
Well, I think he also has a good understanding here that he is now at the top of the leaderboard. You know, what do they say? On course. You know, he leads on course. And you just got to hold this to the end. I don't think that'll be easy, but I think Ben's going to put the hammer down here. 195 already at the heart rate. You might as well drive it all the way up to 200. Oh, but you got a lot of power-ups at play here.
Oh, Casey, though, I think he just waited 1 second too long on the quantum shift. He did get bumped, which slowed him down. And this continuance over the top is going to make the difference. The power-ups. Casey kept his wind at the back, though. Again, Frank, we're seeing the combination of power-ups really coming into play.
Yeah, power-ups really are about combinations. Oh, and you see Modi going by there as though he was shot out of a cannon. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays at this point. But you got Casey off the front, zooming to the top of the leaderboard as he zooms past everybody. But yes, using power-ups and combinations, what it's all about. The tactical gameplay on Cade is really moving up, and you just see it developing over time, and you see all of these people learning when and how to use their power-ups.
200 meters remain. Casey was at 197. Nils Heldens is trying to chase him down. He's getting a bit of draft, but look at his face. He moves over to the far side. Not sure once again what the radius is on this one, but you see Nils Heldens choosing the further lane, and that allows Casey without a shadow of a doubt, and he is happy with that one as crossing the line.
Ryan came by. Ryan caught him on the inside as well. Again, that's that pi versus pi. We gotta get out the math books and help out some of the cyclists on the inner radius and how much it does save you.
It's the second time of the night, Frank, for Nils Heldens that he gets passed by somebody on the inside line. That has got to sting, and we see in the instant replay here, the reason why Ryan comes back is back-to-back-to-back power-ups. 62 kilometers an hour, while Casey and Nils are doing 45 and 48. Fantastic racing all around, and once more, Frank, at the top, Casey and Ryan, 2 points difference, and Ben with the additional 20 points, top 3 is wide open. It's gonna be fun to watch this next one. But
yeah, it's gonna be fun. And I should make a comment. I think he was moving to the outside lane to avoid the block because this is a low skill event. So it did cost him time, but I think I understand what he was doing there. Now, that being said, had he maintained his inside position, he might have been able to block Ryan in a low skill event. But I think Nels is probably a positive racer at heart, but a great victory for Casey there.
Casey, that sprint in the end, the power-ups once more. How much testing goes into that? I mean, you were flying out, Ben attacked, but you just came over the top.
Yeah, that one wasn't as overcoming as the first one as far as overcoming the competition. You commented I went a little late on the hill. I did that on purpose, so my low weight continued onto the flat to accelerate a little bit. So I purposely paused for a second because when I get 0% at the top of the hill, I need to accelerate. So there was some intent there. Kudos to Niels. At that point in the sprint, I was not going to block because it was head down, everything I had, because I thought he had me. He had more power than me. So but it was good racing. That was a lot of fun.
Really good racing. And now, Dust Bowl crit. 11 kilometers an hour win, Casey. It's wide open at the top. Does that give you the slight jitters?
No, just kind of do your thing. Easy to make mistakes with wind here. It'll race like a completely different track. My tip to everybody, the key to winning this race, use that power-up number 3. That path of least resistance. Make sure you use that. It'll help you, I promise.
Next level mind games from Casey. That does set it up nicely for Casey to get beat by a well-executed path of least resistance. You never know. Currently sitting in second place, 2 points behind Casey. Ryan, what a day of racing we've had so far in here in Zone K. You're sitting second. It's close at the top. What's your plan in regards to the path of least resistance power-up?
Maybe I usually go into the last corner just to see if I can catch Casey. No. Yeah, I think you got to be careful with that one for sure. But I don't think it's going to come down to where people use that particular power up. I mean, there's 8 nice little digs on this event, so I think that's where it could get decided.
I'm excited to see how the racing unfolds. We would like to go to Ben, but 40 seconds to go. I think we'll just let everybody get set up and get a short preview from Frank Garcia. Frank, close at the top. Even Kayla could come back. How do you see this one unfolding?
Well, I think the comeback kid is going to be really, really interesting in this one. Could be no difference, doesn't make a difference, or could be everything. I think if you get the right momentum, you use it at the right time, could make for a real difference. Very, very close here. I think Ben fading a little bit, Ben and Kayla, so I looked for them to make a break and try and hold everybody off. And I would, if I was them, I'd try and get Modi in there with me, because you need to sort of get some people in between you and Casey and Ryan.
Moti heard what Casey said in the preview there. Using that third power of path of least resistance does reduce the friction between him and the ground as he comes on through. I think, like, it's not spoken about a lot, Frank, but I think Dustbowl Crit is also a rhythm course. I really think you want to get out in front and be your own, because every corner there's a possibility of crashing as Ben moves out. Every chicane, especially that one after this hill.
Yeah, well, I don't think you've ridden it enough because the hills kill the rhythm here. So all I remember about these hills is you really do tend to dig hard, as Ryan said in the interview. And so it doesn't feel like a rhythm course. I think, in essence, you're right because of the corners. Very much a sort of a tight crit course for those who are used to normal cycling. But you don't feel the rhythm in this course, especially with the wind. You really don't feel it.
Oh, Ben's got to be careful here. Coming in hot. We look from above. Nils, Casey, Moti, all safe. Allison further back. So far, the victim of the pace is Ryan as well. So Kayla at the back, Ryan at the back. But the comeback kid does enable somebody to come from far behind. But it's still early in the racing, Frank.
Yes, but and if you use it too early in the racing, you set somebody else to use a comeback kid to you. So this is some interesting racing. It'll be interesting to see what Ben does here, but I like that he's trying to break things up. The problem is that he does have Casey with him. He has separated out right now. Ellison is using her comeback kid, and so we'll see how that ends up working for her. Now, she's going to have a little bit of difficulty here because she's going to come into a tight corner. So she's maybe just using it to rest up. Nope, she's going hard, so it'll be interesting to see. She's going to have to break for this corner.
Shout out as well to Nigel Doyle. I did see his comeback kit power-up usage out of the eye of my corner, the corner of my eyes. Allison crashes. Nigel used comeback kit, then immediately crashed while using it. So the man that never disappoints. Those that just saw his highlight go live on Facebook, the joy of winning a race, his dance routine. But right now, Ryan Goldenberg is in 50s, fading off, and with several hills to go in this race. Can he recover? But at the front, Ben's looking good. He's got a 20-point buffer, but could it just be a play for the charades? Could it just be him trying to say, you know what, I've got good legs, and take it out of the rest? I guess only time will tell. But it's looking close, Frank.
Well, and I think he makes Casey use the power-up. So I thought that was clever. Good sort of trash talking with your power-ups there. So I thought that was fun. I think they look to sort of stay away. But here, I think there's this interesting, and you see Ben's like, you shall not draft, you shall not draft.
Casey's not amused, by the way. He's like, what is this shenanery? Let's just work together. None of this. Stop it.
Well, if I was racing Casey, I'd be guttering him. I'd be doing everything that I possibly could to tilt him in terms of, because the funniest thing talking with Casey is that he just can't stand to be guttered, and so that's always a lot of fun, and it gets him going. Now that could be the worst thing you can do to Casey, as you can see here. He's like, oh yeah, well let me show you what happens when I go on tilt. My legs get 50 more watts in them, and he pushes forward. But some fun stuff going on here. One of the things I was going to comment on, we have the bonus points, and they're very important in terms of winning money. But in terms of pure honor, it's always nice to sit atop the leaderboard.
Oh, Casey with the wave as well. This is getting savage, Frank. Let's bring that up on the replay once more.
And is Casey playing roller derby now as well too? That's just awful. There's There's a little vicious streak in today's racing.
I think that was an unforced error from Ben, but Casey optimizing, taking the advantage of the situation, using inertia at the front at 43 k's an hour. So does Moti, but what about Ben Shuilong? Here is his comeback kid. He does have the 20 points for the money, for the honor, it doesn't matter, but for a lot of these racers, $3,000 can go a long way, and we see Ben Shuilong with the comeback kit. It's not really making a dent on the gap further up, and with this 20-point buffer is still not enough. Casey Shum is up there.
No, but that was brilliant usage. He kept his power up through that corner that he had to brake on. So that's pretty brilliant because these power-ups last a long time. And now he can, sort of put the power down. Oh, but it runs out. So he's really got to get on those wheels right now.
Moti Bikelny does what Ben did as well, using his comeback kit, braking in the corners. Now he's going to get down to 28 kilometers an hour here to get back on terms with the front. This is going to be interesting to see how it pans out. By the way, everyone watching, there's more racing coming up after this. Zone L commences at the conclusion of this race. 5 more tracks are coming up, 5 more exciting races. The absolute last chance to get points and move up the seeding. Don't go anywhere. Get ready for more racing. But Frank, again, the gameplay, I've never seen comeback kit used like that before.
Yeah, the gameplay, the use of power-ups really is becoming masterful, and you just see people getting better and better at it all the time. And from a game design point of view, one of the things that you like to see is when people start to do things that you didn't anticipate, and we're seeing a lot of that. So the players of the game are taking the game to new heights, and I think it just becomes engaging to watch, engaging to play, and you see Casey there messing with Moti as well, trying to get another roller derby crash to occur today, and so very interesting racing. One of the things that I think also that's developing is the players are starting to have a lot of fun with this, because this is a physical game. And you do it physically. A lot of this stuff, when you first encounter it the first few times, can really upset you. And but then you learn that it's part of the game, and you learn to play it, and you learn to have fun with it, as well. Now, I'm not sure Ben's having a lot of fun with it at the moment after that crash, because he was sort of at the top, and he sort of sees Casey riding off into the distance. And now you've got Casey and Moti, 2 very strong guys on the front. So it's going to be difficult for Ben to get it back.
To your earlier comment, I'm not sure that everybody realizes over time. I think people get more and more understanding. It's Ryan. Oh, Ryan. That was dirty. Let's bring that up on the replay again. That was straight dirty. So Ben tries one more time to get back on, loads up the inertia, Frank, and then he just slams the door.
Yes, I do think I mentioned Ryan's name before. And you see there that Ben tried to do a counter there as well. But Ryan got the execution, and I don't think that Team CCC is going to be very nice to Team Velocity Vixen in the next few races. Just saying, that's my prediction, my forecast, but I think it's pretty accurate.
2.1 kilometer remain. Next lap will be the final lap. Moti Bikelny has gone over the top of Casey Shum here. Moti just getting more points for himself here as he gets ready for the next zone as well. His preferred zone is coming up and he's riding into form. But now, can he finish off this zone in style and take the victory? As Casey, we've seen this before, Frank. Casey's very calculated in the way he rides. He spends the energy he must. He must surely be looking at that scoreboard, seeing that there's no one near him.
Yes, if I'm Casey, I'm just riding this one to completion, shaking my head about how smart a rider I am. There's a little smile, inside my head going, yep, I've got this one in. So you see Casey agreeing with me. But what I think is really interesting, if you're Ben and Ryan, I think Ben lives now just to beat Ryan on this course. Now, as I say that, there's a little bit of a fade there, maybe, or maybe Ryan's just going hard. But I think these two, just so that they can go to the coffee shop, bragging rights, and just have a lot of fun with what's happening on the course. And I think you see Ben here just sort of saving it up. He's like, "Yep, I'm going to save it up, and I'm going to pass Ryan. I'm going to break his heart at the last possible moment."
Now, we also saw Moti's little helper come onto the stream there as well, who will surely be made a big highlight of that, if allowed, of course, on the Facebook forums after that, bringing everybody, hopefully, out of laughter. But now, Niels Helden's coming back on the front here, and bit of a resurgence. He may be able to go over the top while Casey and Moti look at each other. Niels has really come into fruition in the way of racing CVRcade. I think he's going to be a massive threat next week, riding unsupported, but there's some kinks in his games that he needs to iron out. But now, he's got to be careful here, Frank. Casey uses comeback kit, and he sprints to make sure that Niels does not disable the power-up.
Well, I think he blocked Niels as well. Master gameplay by Casey. You always want to win a race, and so I think Casey's just like, I'm smart and I'm strong, and I'm just going to show you guys how this is done today, and take this in for the win.
Now, I'm not sure, we may have gone live on the wrong page. It does feel like we've gone live on Casey Shum's Mixer page at this point, as he's running away with the show on the front. But he's gotta finish this off now, because the Tempest, Niels Helden's, as he is nicknamed, is riding for the stage win here. He's got a chance to move up onto 4th on the podium, but an insane effort will be required here, because Casey Shum is hungry on the front, and his gap does seem to move out. 300 meters remain. Niels Helden looks to be happy with his second place, allowing Casey Shum to ride away with it. His second zone of the day. But ladies and gentlemen, your winner here, preliminary, awaiting of course the official results. Casey Shum with excellent gameplay across all 5 tracks. Now for the last time here in Zone K, he can celebrate the victory and also taking the Omnium. Niels, though, also almost making it close. Then Moti Pikelny in 3rd. Ryan versus Ben. I think Ryan has ridden Ben way off his wheel, and he is sitting up and relaxing. But Frank, that was a really exciting zone with lots of highlights, lots of stories.
Yeah, very, very nice. I like how Casey did that sprint at the end, saying, I'm a pro. You're going to get close, but you're not going to pass me. And just a note to everybody, you look like a pro when you do that and you cross the line first. But if you do that and don't cross the line first, you get made, viral videos get made of you. But good gameplay there. Yeah, I think it was really, really good. In the end, Ryan holds off Ben. I think Ryan probably had the points anyway, even if Ben passed him. So Ben was probably one of those smart racers as well, and said, you know what, I think I'm going to save a little bit in my legs for another day, another Omnium. And but really close racing today. That was really fun to watch. Fun roller derby crashes and sprints, and people holding in the sprints as well.
More racing coming up now next here in Zone L, but before that, Casey, congratulations. I mean, solid racing all across, and I think with what we saw there, new strategies will be unveiled. But that could not have come at a better time. Next week is the tournament beginning. You won today, it was good. Thinking about next week, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that should have been a good points day for me. I was probably fighting for around 2nd place in the overall points if you take the 6th best, but a lot of my wins were earlier in the season where less points were on hand, so it was good to get a good points number racked up there. It bumps my chances up a little bit. It was really good racing. Moti was playing it right. I think he knew I had that comeback kid, so he actually came back to me to keep that gap smaller, because I was just waiting. I was letting him sit 3 seconds up, and I was going to use that comeback kid to get a huge run on him, and he wouldn't let that gap open up once I came back to him. So a good play by him. It made me work in the end. Now,
I think you said earlier you might stick around for another go. Is that going to be the case here in Zone L?
Yeah, we're going to have another go, but we might be throwing up some more crooked numbers instead of that straight one in this round.
Well, it was great racing all around. I can't wait to see what you're going to do in Zone L, but also forward in the next week. Before he turns off, we do have Nils who came over the line in second. If you can get a parting word with the Tempest. Nils, you've been getting better and better at the racing. How do you feel about next week? Because you are on the upward trajectory here.
I'm not sure how I should feel about next week since nothing has been announced yet, but I'm excited. Looking forward to it. And thank you for saying I'm on the up. Nice compliment. Yeah, I hope it's going to be a good week. And hopefully what CVR has in store will play in my favor. But yeah, I'm eager to see what they have planned.
Well, enjoy your well-deserved rest. 2 zones in a day. That is not something for the weak-hearted. Congratulations on some good results. Now, Moti, I apologize for your comment, as I see he's not currently at his bike, so I have to apologize again when he does come back. But what we will do in the meanwhile is go to Ryan Goldenberg. Ryan, in the end there, you and Ben were getting a bit cagey. That block, what do you make out of that?
Oh, nothing against Ben. He knows I love him and his course. That was a purely selfish move, just trying to maximize my own points on the day. Yeah, it was like this close to me crashing. As soon as I switched lanes, I thought I turned into him, but I guess I made it just in the nick of time. Yeah, just going up that hill, I knew if he passed me, I would be done on that last lap there, in the second to last lap, but. Yeah, I mean, whether me and Ben, and again, no hard feelings there, or Moti and Kayla, I think it's good for everybody to just get it all out before, who knows if we're going to see each other next week in the tournament.
I will get a take from the opposite side of the table. Ben, no hard feelings, says Ryan. How about you?
Yeah. You know, I have been known to block people to save my own skin, so you know what goes around comes around. So fair play. Yeah, I just you know, once he got a gap, I just couldn't. I was just too tired. So you know, I was just keeping an eye on the next person behind me, just to make sure that they can catch me up, and then yeah, save the legs for another day, as Frank suggested. So. But yeah, I'm pleased with third, you know, and see what happens with the extra points. So it should definitely be one of my 6 races in terms of highest score. So yeah, it's been a good day, and yeah, I can't wait to find out what's going to happen in the tournament.
That was going to be my next question, because now we've taken that all-important high-skill victory on Dark Matter Velo. What's next for Ben Shuiyalong? What's the next target? What's the next thing you're working towards?
I don't know. I guess it'd have to be a country rally victory. I suppose that would be the cherry on the top. But no, I'm hoping it doesn't come up in the tournament. But something tells me it will.
Well, I hope you don't leave your fans waiting another 7 weeks for a victory on a high-scale event. That might not be good for their hearts. But congratulations, Ben. You've deserved some well-earned rest coming into next week. That does conclude Ben's racing here in the bracketed session, as we are watching the highlights of the last race, 1 and 2. In 2 minutes' time, more racing does get underway. As you can see, the different racers are ready to go. Now, we do have Jeff in the broadcast as well, and I want to get a quick word from Jeff, who's racing both zones. Jeff, we didn't quite get to see the best Jeff in the previous zone, but here in Zone L, new start, new race. What can we expect?
I'm going to be in it to win it, but the legs just weren't cooperating. And everyone's coming out to play hard for these points, but it's all good experience. Had a good Dark Matter Velo, so quite happy with that. I think it's my best result on that in an actual race ever.
Well, congratulations, Jeff. We did see you up there, and it was good to see you pushing the envelope with Moti and Ben up there as well. You've been racing in, you've been getting the experience. With 1 minute to go, this race coming up, what do you make of these no-skill events?
Well, low skill by definition, but lot of skill in getting it just right. As we say, there's a certain amount of luck, but still got to play your cards right to have a chance. And yeah, it's a lot of hard work.
We'll see. 50 seconds remain. Thank you, Jeff. Now, substituting into the broadcast, we've got Niels Heldens going up. We've got Aaron Starlin joining in. He's been known to rock a camera or two in his past, and we'll see if he'll stay steady in this race coming up. I'm not sure if Frank is joining me for the next zone here in the broadcasting booth or what he intends to do.
I am.
Oh. Well, that makes it fun. Frank, I see the Pocket Rocket or the Rocket Jonathan Hiron is ready. Does it make you excited to see these new racers coming on and getting hooked? Because this is Jonathan's third race in a row this week.
Well, I think the Rocket is also the Blocket, as I've seen. So some exciting races we'll see from him as well today. So it'll be interesting to see a new person, new tactics, into the game, and I do enjoy seeing it.
Now, what can he do today? Because on Thursday, he was up there with Tim. He was in contention for the win. What can he do today? We're seeing Aaron Starlin on the front here. Aaron has been producing some good results in the no-skill events, but the further we get into the Omniums, he seems to suffer a tiny bit. But another good story, Frank, is Kim Fairchild. I'm not sure if you got a chance to watch Thursday's racing on Cityscape New York, but he was up there with the best at 200 equalized heart rate. I mean, isn't that just awesome to watch?
Well, don't tell Kim, but I was watching the broadcast and I saw him off the front and I fell asleep. So that's either good news for him or bad news for him, because that's how I remember him off the front. But when I woke up, he was no longer there. That's all I know.
Oh, I'm sorry I'm laughing, but I just know how heartbreaking that is for Kim, as he spent his hard energy to be up there. But all you gotta know is, Kim, there's another chance today as the racing continues. We'll look towards some of the racers doing their second Omnium, and there's an interesting phenomenon with some riders actually performing better in their second Omnium. We look towards Alison Kubota. I think Moti is one, but we've got Sebastian Kuhn on the start line. It's his second Omnium of the day as well. He raced E this morning, and I mean, riders just can't get enough of the CVRcade World Cup, Frank.
I'm jealous. I am very, very jealous. If I could walk more than 100 meters, I'd probably be on my bike. But got to stay off for a bit, but this makes it hard. Looks like so much fun out there. Great gameplay, great tactics. Really, we set up after this race for Temple Run. Great races in the last two zones, and I look forward to that as well.
1 kilometer remain. Last lap coming up. Can Ryan Goldenberg do the double here in the no-skill events today? Shake of the head, but he may have it. He's going up against other strong racers. Sebastian Kuhn knows how to time it. Aaron Starlin, I think we get ready to see what he's got on this one. He's got the cadence of a washing machine, as we see.
Yes, I think he needs bigger gears. I think I'm going to buy him a Christmas present and send him some better gears. But yes, him and Jenna have the cadence of hummingbirds.
It does make for entertaining gameplay, but on the front, Moti Pikelny, Alison Kubota, Casey Shum with a brief comeback kit. You just saw it being used for a second, but now you've got to commit. He's on the outside lane here again. It was good for Ryan before. Can it be so again? Crossing the line, Moti Pikelny does come on through in the blue, but on the inside, Ryan hoping that the lane's going to be, but Moti opens up the door for Ryan. The one time I don't think changing lanes was worth it, but Ryan making it 2 for 2, Frank.
So they're testing the whole pie versus pie thing here. They're trying to make a liar out of me, but really fun stuff there. Can't wait to see the replay.
We see it coming up now. Now, I think So in Cade, I'm not one of the developers, but it looks like you do slow down when you change across the lane. So when Moti swaps to the left, he loses that slight advantage he's got on Ryan, and Ryan's momentum just propels him on through and does take the victory. But long sprint from Casey, long sprint from Moti, and Ryan on the inside as Kim has got his comeback kit on. Ryan making it 2 for 2. Congratulations, Ryan. I mean, you just got that unlocked today, taking the inside lane this time, but it didn't look like it was going to be in the back until Moti moved on over into your lane.
I was kind of testing the pi theory. Last time I did it from like 1.5 pi, and this time I did it from about 1.0 pi. For all the math nerds out there, it seemed to work either way, but no, I think it was more the momentum this time. I actually blew my comeback hit. It didn't just sort of disappeared, so that didn't play a role. But yeah, it kind of stretched out a little bit more in that last lap, so just more heads-up racing. I'll put my vote in for an all no-skill Omnium, though.
Well, I'm sure you can go do that somewhere else if you'd like to. Now let's go hear from Moti Pikilny, because Moti, you had that one in the bank. You moved to the left. What's the thought process?
I thought Casey was going to come through me with the draft. That's why I moved over. I was more worried about Casey than Ryan at that point. And I'm not so sure that my lateral move cost me that first spot. I'll have to look at the replay more closely, but I'll take second. It's much better than where I came out last time. So good racing, 2 in a row for Ryan. And now we'll just have to try to punish him here on Temple Run.
Oh, tougher words I've never been received from Ryan being punished here in the next race. But Moti, this is your last chance to move up on cycle data. You're sitting in second. It's your preferred zone, but you need to D-rank Tim on the top. I do. This is the only place where I have a shot at beating Tim at much. So it's now or never. It's really close and it's exciting, and that's why I'm here for my third Omnium. It's a lot of racing, a lot of watts, a lot of time, but I'm still looking forward to each of these events that's coming up. Dedication from Moti. Thank you. Good luck in the next race, sorry. Casey Shum, in the last race, walked away with the victory on Temple Run. Casey, will that be the case once more here in Sonel?
I don't know. I think there might be other rocket ships in here. We'll see how that goes. Good move on that one. Actually, I'm not sure if you guys caught it, but I think Allison set that one up. I was watching Allison for a half a lap. She slungshot through the pack with a comeback kid, and I went to the front and used my comeback kid, and I think Ryan tried the same thing, but Ryan hit me and lost his. I got that sprint started with that move. So good move by everybody. That was fun.
Good to see.
And make sure Moti's got to be looking back, not just forward in second place there, because somebody might be coming up on him.
Oh, that is fighting talk. I like it. We'll see how it moves on that database. Being top 2 could be very crucial come the end. But Frank, this is the race you're looking forward to. You really like watching these. I think most of us like to watch the different complexities of strategies that are being deployed. Second time around, what do you think riders will look to change up?
Well, first, a note to Casey, watch the Blocket. Who's also the Rocket. But I think what you're going to see here is, again, some settling in. Looks like we've got the Rocket off on the right-hand side in the lane on its own. You see Casey getting on the wheel here. But so maybe it won't go easy. Maybe there's going to be Jonathan's going to sort of throw a wrench into the everybody gets to sit in works for the first lap and really go hard from the outset. And it looks like we've got Aaron here looking to do the same. So I think this is going to be a hard race. So Casey already having done his own, I think he'll try and sit in mostly and conserve some energy.
I think Jonathan might be in for a bit of surprise here because I'm not sure if he knows this is a high skill event. So I think you can attempt the blocking maneuvers, but if they fail, you have to work really hard to get back on top here. Yep, there it is. That's on cue. But
obviously not listening to the broadcast or the slight delay in the broadcast cost him big.
And he crashed again coming back up, so that does change up the dynamics on course. Casey, but we're seeing Anish. Anish has really come to the forefront as well. I mean, physical equalization just works. Seeing Anish on the front here, what can he do as Kim Fairchild goes down? But fresh riders here, Anish, Sebastian, Aaron, they're really going to shake things up here, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you see is people moving from Cade Cadet to Cade Competitor, and I'll look to pull up some data on Anish here as well. But once they figure out that they can go toe-to-toe with people, you get these races where they just, they burst out. Looks like Kim was trying to burst out. Instead, he burst into a tree on the side of the road there.
Oh, it can happen to even the best, but that's why physical equalization is so awesome, because in the last zone, I have never seen Ben Shuilong with such a big smile on his face, and that is months of work. I mean, so much effort going into that one victory, and that's only really possible on CVRcade thanks to physical equalization, because otherwise, if it was real cycling, you'd have those at the top, your Caseys, your Tims, your Motis, run away with it, but physical equalization, Frank, it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Just makes the game fun to play, and it makes it so that you just go hard. We're actually talking to some psychological types because it's very interesting what happens in Cade because you can hold people off, because you can compete at the same level. Everybody tends to go a little bit harder than they might otherwise.
And now we see a bot has made it to the front here. Who's the chosen one? It's Samuel sitting on the back here of Allison. So now we've seen Eli on the front, we've seen Ada on the front, and now Samuel joins the bot patrol finest as he in the yellow is riding with Allison leading him out. Always good to see these good stories on the front. Sebastian, Jonathan, and Nish is back in. But again, Frank, I mean, there's a lot of riders looking around, not wanting to jump the gun too early in this race.
Yeah, this is what we expected. I think Jonathan, being more of a newbie, the Rocket didn't, he's used to the second event being a low-skill event. We changed things up here a little bit. And you've got to read the event descriptions on Cade more than anywhere else because it can really change things dramatically, as he's learned. Lucky for him, he got to ride the bots back. Had to do a little effort. I think he might have crashed a couple of times as well. So he's learning that this is a high skill event, and I'm sure that he'll lock that learning in for the rest of the ride.
Oh, this is clever. Allison on the front. Everyone got so comfortable with her ride that they got lulled into a false sense of security. And Moti goes over the top. And this is a pressure point because you're so used to riding through those rocks. You cannot do it this time around. And Moti goes onto the attack. But so does Aaron. I mean, when is this going to be Aaron's breakout performance today, Frank?
Well, I don't know if you saw it. He put in a huge sprint in the last race, as he tried to execute a comeback, his patented comeback kid maneuver, but other people are learning his maneuver.
Oh, Moti! Oh, just on the back there. We actually didn't quite catch it in the stream. We had it on a second monitor. He slammed his handlebar. That's how badly he wanted to be in that front group. But yeah, sorry, go on, Frank.
Well, and now Ellison will probably slow things down, I imagine, and try and let Moti take the bot patrol back up to the front. And now you basically see everybody back in front here. Oh, Jonathan, the Cade Cadet, the newbie. I don't know if he's a Cade Cadet still, but he's riding like a Cade Cadet today. So definitely learning about lane changing in a high skill event. And when you first start, really you think like this is maddening, and then you learn the skill, and you just rarely make the mistake any longer. But it takes a little while to fully acquire the skill.
Now, burns on CVRcade have reached a whole new level, so if there's ever a racer you disagree with, just call them a Cade Cadet, and that will stick around for a while as we watch the riders come on through. Casey is at the front of the affairs. He's got Ryan Goldenberg side by side here on the screen, so the fight continues. In this zone, Kayla, Moti, and Jennifer have preferred zones. I'm seeing only seems like Moti's at the front of the affair here, and he knows the points to move on up and keep the other ones at bay. But 10 kilometers remain as Orion, I'm not sure what happened there. If we can bring that up on the replay, I didn't quite catch it.
Oh my. Anish and Jonathan were working back together and just piled into the corner following the bots. I am enjoying this a little bit too much, but I actually expect Jonathan to get back here, if just out of spite, if nothing else.
You gotta commend
the Rocket. I know the Rocket. He's got great heart, and as Casey already mentioned, will be a force to be reckoned with on the platform, and learning all the skills he needs just in time for next week, I would say.
Yeah, but the thing that Jonathan is going through now, that most have gone through, I mean, it's not always fair to laugh at everybody, but it is funny because, he goes down again. He had inertia on, and he comes through the corner. But this is why we can laugh together, Frank, because every single rider has gone through this. Those that have seen Peter Kastrup dominate may or may not have seen him have a corner named after him on Mountain Bike by Jesper, seen him crash countless times. And I think that's really what's endearing about CVRcade and CVRcade racing, is that you come on the platform totally frustrated. I mean, Nigel Doyle is my favorite example. I remember the early days of Nigel, and to see where he's come now, Frank, I mean, it's just funny to see the progression that every rider has to go through.
Yes, it is lots of fun. It's sort of the rite of passage. And so right now the Rocket won't be laughing with us. He might be saying things we can't put on a family-friendly stream. And I think it would be great to see him streaming to see his reactions. But later on, he'll laugh with us. He is actually a Cade competitor. So I guess the Cade Cadet dig will be an actual dig later on. You ride like a cadet, but I think he's probably got really good legs today, and just wanting to use them. And Cade makes you use them at the right spots. And I think he was following Anish, who he probably doesn't realize is also a little bit of a newer rider. And so you think, sort of like the Blue Angels that, unfortunately, if they can follow the lead right into the ground. Which is kind of what happened here. You think, this is an experienced rider. They know the corner speeds. I don't know the corner speed, so I'll just ride behind them. And then, much to your surprise, the guy you were following didn't know the corner speeds either. And, a little bit of unfortunate riding there.
If you're looking towards the front here, this is an interesting group of 4 riders. Casey Shum, Aaron Starr, and Sebastian Kuhn, and Nigel Doyle. We've seen the racing progress here, but how do they fight this one out? I mean, we've seen the alliances across the teams, but I can't imagine that these 4 have arranged, like, if there's a more diverse group of riders to have in a group like this, I would not imagine that they have an alliance across the team. So what happens next, Frank?
Well, I think this is some very, very interesting racing here. So what you have is 3 very experienced riders, and Aaron, who's been developing riders. So Aaron is one of those new riders who shows, sort of brilliance in his ability to sort of grok the game. Now, I happen to know that Aaron is a gamer, and so much so that he streams on Twitch and all of that. So I think he really gets the game mechanics of the game. But what was harder for him at the beginning was the physical aspects. But I also know that he's an athlete. And so I think it's just taken some time for Aaron to figure out how to combine those 2 worlds. And I think he's going to be very, very formidable. Now that being said, you see the three masters up here wanting to take Aaron to school, and it'll be very interesting to see how Aaron deals with this. But he's got to stay attached here, or it's probably game over.
I think he could need a gear or two, because you can see him spinning out on the gradients here, and just being able to stand up on the bike, being able to apply some of the pressure when other riders accelerate. Basic skills like that also translates from real cycling onto CVRcade, as Sebastian Kuhn puts in a bit of an attack here on Casey. And I think Sebastian loves to do this, Frank. He comes in for Zone L, knowing that most of his competition have done 2 zones, and then he just breaks their spirits. We saw it Thursday, and Frank, we're seeing it again here.
Yeah, but he's got Casey with him this time, and Nigel has learned to really sort of stick to people as well. And so you see Casey here saying, hey, Nigel, I think I'm going to climb on your wheel, and let's see where we can go. They've got to be careful to navigate the rocks here. But one of the things that you also learn with Cade, because of how we handle the gradients and the resistance in the trainer, is gearing matters. And that's goes to your comment about Aaron. Although I think Aaron is really suffering from being in the hurt locker more than anything else, because he's at 190, but he's out here, and if he waits for Modi and Ellison, I'd say that's a quick ticket back to the front.
It definitely is, as they pass the Temont Tears waterfalls, as Moti Pikelny as Christian. That bit is, you get the thumbs up. I totally just remember that, as that is awesome. But I also think there's Heldon's Heels around here somewhere as well. So Tempo Run getting all sorts of names. We're seeing the attack, but you saw for a moment there, Frank, Casey and Nigel. Casey adamant to work with whoever he's in the front group with, but Nigel was trying to just give up the draft. What's the thought process behind that? Why would you not want to work together?
I don't know, although I do know that Nigel can hold a grudge. Now, Casey normally rides super positive, so I don't even know that there could be a grudge, but maybe there was a place where an inadvertent block happened, and so Nigel, feels compelled to return the favor, as we say, and you get all these interesting dynamics in the game, and it goes sort of to an economics class, right? Because everybody does what's in their best self-interest, but we learn that that's not exactly true. Humans don't always do what's in their best self-interest, and so they can go on tilt. They can be a little bit upset. They can retaliate. They can do different things, and the great thing is you get to see that on full display in CVRcade because of the tactics that get to be played. And if you're Sebastian, you're just like, woohoo! Yeah, I hope you two guys can't work together. Don't find a groove because I am the German poker machine that is just going to leave you behind.
You gotta love Sebastian. I mean, whenever I'm able to get a smile or a laugh out of Sebastian in the post-race interviews, I feel like I've done my job better than ever. Now he's off the front, dishing out the pain. And the podcast that's been going around that people have been listening to from me, Beth, and Vic, you heard me say, I think Sebastian is going to do great things, but his own worst enemy is himself. Can he limit his mistakes within the game? Because we know he's got heart. Like, he's able to suffer like no other, but he does have some trouble with some of the more technical courses. But here, he is showing what he's got. But Nigel and Casey trading turns. Ryan is back up as well. And so this chasing group, Frank, they could catch back up.
Well, you've got the Rocket making his way back up. You've got, Aaron is there. You've got Ellison. You've got Team Cognition there. Like I said, the way that I look at Ellison is absolutely if she's in my group, I want her in my group. That being because she'll pull forever. And you kind of see her doing that right now. She's pulling Madi, and the Rocket can get, on this train. Now you see the Rocket's at 180, so he's kind of closing in on the hurt locker, but he's got a lot of time. Well, I guess there isn't. I guess this is the last lap, so I don't know what I'm saying about a lot of time. So they're going to have to go pretty hard, And I think you can expect Maudie and Ellison to go hard. I don't know if they've used their power-ups, and maybe we'll see a couple of those shot out of the cannon power-up combinations here coming up on the climb.
While that happened, Nigel Doyle somehow overlapped wheels with Casey Shum and went down, and he's out of the front group as Aaron Starling as well learns how to use the inertia. He came flying, and the inertia comes back at 44 k's an hour, so there is another bit of trivia, knowing when to use the inertia power-ups, Frank.
Yes, and so everybody gets the same power-ups, which is absolutely awesome. Just to see how different people use them, effectively. And really what you've got is Sebastian off the front. You've got Casey right behind, which sets up a 6-point differential for the Omnium, definitely favoring Sebastian on these tougher courses and definitely favoring Casey on the more technical, even though his legs might be a little burnt up, from today. And then you've got Modi, really back there in third position, who really looks to make his way up. So my guess is he'll finish in front of Ellison, and so the fly in the ointment for them is really the Rocket. And so we'll see how that how that plays. I would look to see Blockett the Rocket make his way in front of Modi to score some good points and work his way back into the overall Omnium contention.
It's crazy. Oh, as Jonathan slams on the brakes, taking out Ryan Goldenberg, and then accelerates back up. Ryan Goldenberg getting a taste of Blockett the Rocket. That name I do like. But it's interesting how one new addition, you introduce one new rider to this conditioned environment that just knows everything about everyone, and when you add this one new variable, suddenly everything you know and seems to be true is no longer true. Jonathan comes in, awesome guy, I've met him in real life, and he's just having fun with the game. But what this does is that Ryan usually sits in and goes, no one would take me out, but Jonathan goes, what are you talking about? This is fun. I'm gonna hit the brakes and then sprint back up to the front group.
Well, and it's really, so I think Blockett the Rocket will become a thing because it's really one of his fastest moves. But turnabout is fair play. You see, you see, Ellison is like, okay, here we go. That was a lot of fun. And here's the thing: the Rocket is probably smiling from ear to ear, going, "That's just awesome." And it also plays into what he was doing with Ryan. So, Now Ellison is not going to be happy. So turnabout was fair play. I tell you, it has been a vicious roller derby out there today. And now you see Ryan says, oh, yeah, let me show you how the game is played. Blockett the Rocket.
But he's got to be careful. I like that move. He shimmies to the right and then cuts across to the left to anticipate that Jonathan would block him. Jonathan doesn't even bother, but it makes Ryan look cool nonetheless as he pops his inertia, trying to get back on terms with Nigel Doyle. Meanwhile, on the front, it's been a while since we checked in with Casey and Sebastian, but it looks like Casey at 193 is still fighting on. But for Casey, the 8-point differential, is it enough to just unleash that matchbook and burn every single match? Most likely not. So he's thinking forward. He's thinking Dark Matter Velo is up after this, highest scoring multiplier of the day, and then we've got 2 more races. It's a long game to be up here near the front.
Absolutely. You saw Casey burn his inertia, so he did his special trick, but I think Sebastian must have been watching last race. Has maintained his lead. I would expect Sebastian to take the win here. I think the interesting battle is Ryan and the Rocket back here because I think they both want to finish in front of the other. I think the Rocket has had to put in a lot more energy into the race. I don't know how many times he's gone down. I'll get the stats when the race is over, but certainly a number of times, and just fun to watch. And you see him brake hard there at that moment of panic where you're like, oh no, am I overspeed in this corner? And that may allow Ryan, who's comfortable with the corner speeds, to get to the end. You can really pick up, a corner very easily if you know the corner speeds. Tim Fulford is very, very good at that, and you can really use that to your advantage, and especially if you're confident in the corners. So what we're going to see here is the Rocket will have a chance to sort of go hard here on a long straight, and then the long straight into the stadium as well. And we'll see if he can bring Ryan back. But I think Ryan's going to be particularly motivated to make it all the way to the end.
And I think he's got his eyes on Nigel Doyle as well. I think he's looking more forward than backwards at this point. Can he catch one of the yellow riders on the front? A big sprint will be required, but with 100 meters to go, it will be Sebastian Kuhn who can ride across Victory Boulevard, take the victory. Good victory for Sebastian, but lots of more racing is coming up next. In second place, we've got Casey Shum here, Team Experimental. He sits second overall. Job well done, but he now knows what he is up against with Sebastian Kuhn coming out to play. Further down this time, we won't miss the final corner for the first time in 3 Omniums today as Ryan and Nigel go head to head in this sprint. Nigel first on through. How much will Ryan give it? He perfectly times the corner as the whole world shakes, but it will not be enough. Nigel Doyle third, Ryan fourth, and then Jonathan Herone, the Blocket Rocket, the Pocket Rocket, the Rocket Man, whatever you want to call him. Definitely been a nice addition to the racing.
Yeah, that was fun. He gave us something to comment on for sure, and a great addition to the game, and looking forward to the next race.
Dark Matter Velo is the next race, and if you have never seen this race before, well, you're in for a treat. It was great watching all throughout the zones today, and we'll watch it for the last time today here in Zone L as we just catch the finishing highlights with Sebastian Kuhn. Cognition taking the win now. He's not streaming into the broadcast. I think he's streaming in using the in-game widget, so you can watch his perspective if you go and check that out. But Casey, second place in that one. Was there a moment where you thought, you know what, it's not worth the extra 8 points, or were the legs just cooked?
Both, really. I mean, Sebastian was fresh. I knew it. Sebastian's strong. Nigel didn't really seem like he wanted to work. And he dropped a power up trying to get away from me going up the hill, and he wrecked. So I guess it was okay. He was attacking me early. He knew I had soft legs, but it was nice surprise for me, a little bit of karma, and I could kind of just relax at that point and hold my gap.
Are you surprised that riders like Nigel doesn't want to work with you?
Yeah, I was. I'm trying to remember one of the CCC guys, but I think it was Peter. I stuck him in the barrier on Country Rally a couple weeks ago. I called Nigel out once for messing with a race on the keyboard. So, but I would say to any racer, when you get off the front like that, I've said it many a times, I'll be your partner until it's time to take the gloves off. And he took the gloves off early, and I came out on top. Had he stuck it in that corner, he probably would have got away. I didn't have the legs.
Dark Maravella coming up next. I'll let you mentally prepare for this one. Sebastian currently first, Casey is second, but in third, the maple syrup cereal consumptioner, Ryan Goldenberg. We've got the same container as I remember you drinking out of in the last stream over the left-hand corner. As we're just watching the highlights, we can't unfortunately see your strudel waffle. But Ryan, Dark Maravella coming up next. The man of consistency, you're still up in third. How is this race going to pan out?
Hopefully not like last zone where I crashed in the first corner. I sort of was indecisive between using my corner caper and getting to an open lane, and obviously not watching my speed. So I want to change one of those things at least. Hopefully stay with the crowd as long as I can, if not in front. But yeah, it was unlike me to crash in the first quarter, so hoping to improve that. But yeah, I'm happy with where I am after a hard zone last time.
We'll see if you stay happy where you are after the conclusion of this race. Frank, Dark Matter Velo, there's a few riders that I consider the very, very best. You and Timothy are two that I can think of at the top. What are some tips you can give out to these racers?
Get out front, into the clear early, like all racing should be, but definitely more so here. You've got to keep your eyes up the road, all the way up the road and into the corners, so that you can look for traffic and choose the correct lanes. And so we'll see the start here. I'll let you call it, and we'll look for a lot of corner capers.
This first corner is where the majority of the time is made up. Watch for riders to do a game-winning sprint here. We're on Moti right now. He's going head-to-head with Casey. Whoever gets in this corner and stay up will have an advantage. Corner caper. They're not giving an inch, and it is Moti Pikelny who comes out ahead. But now you've got to execute on it. But these two, Frank, now they've got an interesting battle at hand.
Yeah, absolutely. So Moti has the upper hand here. And I just always, once I get this, I ride steady. And I'm like, if you're going to get past me, you're going to have to do some great maneuvers. And just hold down the risks here as well. Now, I did promise as we're watching this some stats from the last race. The Rocket won in terms of crashes. He crashed 5 times and still got back to the front of the race, or near the front of the race. So kudos to him. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with once he gets the skills down.
It's a bit like Luis Sobranis. Luis crashed a lot in the beginning, but now whenever you watch Zone T, he's a favorite. But now we're coming into a lane that's blocked. Moti's going to slow down here as the rider ahead of him impeding his progress. Casey prematurely slowing down there as well. So interesting, it was Anish who was in the way. So 1 kilometer here. The two riders, they can't rest too much, Frank, because in the last zone we saw Kayla Laguna come on by. I don't think she used her corner caper in the first lap.
Oh, there's danger here. Oh, he gets out of trouble. So Casey almost got trapped there with the rider rematerializing Kim, who will now slow down Anish and open up the road for Casey.
That just takes
Moti.
Kayla out of the race completely as she gets caught up in it. Excuse me, is Ryan with his corner caper a bit prematurely as well here?
Yes, but he's on the outside, and so he's really got to push it. And this is where, do you really know all the lanes' corner speeds? Because each one has a different corner speed. And you see Ryan trying to hold his lead. Look at the competition here. Moti and Casey back and forth, and Casey's probably just smiling to himself going, yep, you guys both go really hard and lock it up in a corner, and I'll clear it for the victory.
Oh, Ryan opting for the middle lane. He had a free option on the inside. I think that's the decision that ends up losing him top 2. I think that puts him so far back with 1 lap to go. Every lap you can gain about a second, but that is tough to make up with no power-ups left. Moti in his preferred zone has got the right of way, but it's gonna be close here towards the finish. We keep an eye from above. Half a lap remains. Casey comes on the inside, and he's gonna try and overtake, and they're swapping lanes. They're touching. Oh, there's gonna be close. Finish line is coming up. Moti has got the right of way, and just once more with the radius.
That was close.
That's the closest I've ever seen, Frank.
That was amazingly close. Moti had to risk it there. Went hard. You saw him bumping back and forth, which means you're on the verge of just going down, risking it all, rolling the dice. I'm sure he threw up his hands. You've got to go interview both of them. Love to hear what they have to say.
Here we got the highlight once more, side by side coming out of this. It could not be any closer on Dark Matter Velo. Ryan will be looking back, thinking of what he did wrong, because Casey and Moti coming on out. Moti literally bumping into Casey, and Moti is forced into the second lane here because the inside lane is congested. The drafting comes into play, the wind comes into play, and Moti Pikelny, that's possibly the most impressive Dark Matter Velo victory I've ever seen. But man, that last few 2 laps, it got close.
That was awesome.
Oh, sorry, Frank. Yeah, Moti, that was good, Moti. That was close, but did you ever think you were going to crash down?
Oh, yeah. I thought one of us or all of us were going to crash. I mean, after the really close finish with Kayla coming around with her corner caper on the previous zone, I mean, that was intense. That was some of the best gameplay ever. And I love that that's going to be a highlight and that I won. So
I like that you're playing not to win, but to be on Facebook after this and be like, yep, that was me. I can look back being victorious. Let's get a quick 2 cents from Casey on the other side. Casey, you're going to be on the highlight, but you're going to be on the receiving end. How does that feel?
I'm okay with that. I came in on that outside lane, and I had a little bit of a lead on him, and I held it as close to wrecking as I felt comfortable doing, but I'm saying in my head, I can't wreck. He's got to pass me, and I've got to make him pass me, and I did, and he had to be a tenth of a kilometer from wrecking. So good job, Moti. He took the risk, and he did it, and about 3 laps to go, I think Frank noticed it. I mean, I made a lane by that much, and Ryan had used that corner caper and flew by. I mean, the last 3 laps were fun. I trusted that Moti would – I stayed on his wheel because I trusted that he wouldn't slow me down in the corners, and it worked out really well. That was fun.
Ryan as well, the last of the 3 in that front group. Now, you were up there, Ryan. I think your positioning in the end comes out to choosing the middle lane instead of the inside when you had the option. Why was that?
Yeah, that was as close as I've seen it among the top 3. But, yeah, I think it was after I used the corner caper, Moti and I were in open lanes next to each other. I think he had a slight edge on the inside. I was worried that he was maybe going to take the lane that I should have taken, and that I would have turned into him and crashed. So, I don't know where a crash would have put me, several places down. Yeah, I mean, you could say playing it too safe as always, but I took that outside lane. Third was much better than I did last time. So, like Casey, I'm not complaining.
Scoreboard puts you in 3rd, so once more solid position. Good luck in this next race, Orion. But Frank, as a dark matter velo connoisseur, as one of the ones that really understand it, that must bring some joy to yourself.
Oh yes, I wish I had been able to be in that race. And as Casey talked about, I'm sure he would have liked to finish first. But when you're in that good a race, it's just fun, and that looked exceedingly fun. And it'll be interesting to see how things play. You got Sebastian, who didn't do all that well there, but still within striking distance of the top of the podium. You've got Casey in lead position. And so exciting as we shape up for the overall Omnium victory as well.
Here we go, Roman Arena, 2 laps of this. This will be a tough race ahead of the finale on Dust Bowl Crit. Do you remind you, this is the $25,000 CVRcade World Cup. We're in the bracketed session, the final race of the seeding before the tournament that gets underway next week. This is the low skill event where they get to just recover in their mental spot. But we're seeing early out of the gate here, Frank, Moti is in trouble.
Yeah, it looks like maybe he's just trying to save some energy, let some other people pass, or maybe the legs are just saying, you know what, this has been hard today. How about we take some rest?
Not 1, not 2, but 3 Omniums today for Moti Pikelny. Gotta be human underneath all that super coolness. We'll see if he does bleed come the end of the day, but he's gotta keep fighting. This is his preferred zone. There are points on offer, and he is just moving from left to right with the bots, searching for the draft. But Moti Pikelny will need to pull something out here. Kayla on the left in the green as well. She's been distanced. She moves over as well, just desperately searching for the draft, with Samuel making a resurging towards the front. But Jonathan Heron is up there now, Frank. The Blocket Rocket is back in action.
Yeah, and if I was everybody else, I'd be nervous here because I'd expect him to break and sprint, which is his patented maneuver. I understand the maneuver. I've used it myself quite often. I often do it when I'm wheel sucking and people are getting upset with me, and I'll just then start to try to put them on tilt with behaviors like that as well. But it looks like he's just going to want to sit in here for a bit. I think he wants to do well this race, and this is a low skill race. So as a newer rider, he's probably a little bit more comfortable coming off of some other platforms and whatnot with this type of race than the high skill races. Oh, and you've got Sebastian saying it's time to lay down the law.
I gotta love Sebastian. He is just this kind of guy that goes, right, when the tough gets going, I get going off the front, and that's exactly what we see now. So Sebastian Kuhn, with his power-up, attacks, has a gap. Nigel Doyle tries to go with it, but Casey Shum staying with Jonathan. I think that's the smart move, Frank, because Jonathan seems to have legs of gold today, and he says, you know what, if I win this, it's because of Jonathan.
Yes, and what you see here is I think these three will form back up. It'll be interesting to see if Nigel wants to work on the front. But what you also see is the Rocket saved his power-ups here, and so he's in a really good position. And so this is only a 2-lap race. We'll go up this hill, which will be the hard part here, and then I really favor the Rocket here, I think, more than anyone else.
Could he take another victory? He took a victory in Cityscape, New York. He's on the wheel of Casey as Sebastian burns all his power-ups. Nigel has been distanced. Allison is up here after Moti did blow up. He finds himself down in third. It's only a question of time whether that would happen or not. And then we see Sebastian and Casey fighting it out at the top for the positions. But Sebastian, it's going to take a lot to bring him back.
Yeah, Sebastian is not going to let you back into the fray without a fight, but I think the Rocket can do it. The question will be whether or not Casey can do it.
I'm not sure what that sound is, but what was that, Frank?
That was the my alarm. We'll just put it that way.
Well, I'm not sure if it was panic stations in the CVRcade team, Cheb, as Kayla has been left out of the group and she is stuck with the butts, leaving just the front three off the front.
Yes, I saw Kayla back there. Interesting maneuver, by the way. It'll be interesting to see how Nigel plays this. I think I don't think you caught it, but I think Block It the Rocket did the move on Nigel and has put him off the back. Expect an interesting post from Nigel on that move a little bit later on. And here you see him catching Sebastian. And as I said earlier, I expect Jonathan to have, well, actually these two are both fresh. So this should be a very interesting finish. I don't think Casey, Casey's got a little bit of heart rate left. So he might be able to get his way back on, especially if he's got power-ups left. So it'll be interesting to see, does Casey outwit them, or do they outpower him?
And he's also, I mean, Casey's a smart rider. I think deep down, he's thinking consistency across all 5 races. Dust Bowl crit is what it's going to come down to. I do have a comeback kit on it, but if the legs give out, Sebastian Kuhn, Jonathan Herone, both towards the top here. But now a 2-man finish towards the top, and the Block It Rocket here finds himself on the wheel of Sebastian Kuhn. Going forward, what will they do? We're on the last lap here of Roman Arena. The experience favors Sebastian Kuhn, but I think the excitement, Frank, I think that puppy feeling of being good at a new game, that must favor Jonathan Herone.
I think it does, but you see Jonathan being a little tentative here, probably from his experience on Temple Run, which he didn't. Maybe Grok was a high skill event, and so he's not quite sure here. So I think he's watching some of his corner speeds, not realizing that this is the low skill event that he was expecting earlier. So the tentativeness because of the potential for wrecking, probably costing him a little bit of what he would otherwise have as an advantage here from that excitement.
Now we watch Casey Shum as he continues to fire back. We'll bring up the front two in just a second here as we adjust our side-by-side screen. Sebastian Kuhn on the front, Jonathan Herone second place. Sebastian happy to lead on the front, but if there's somebody who is not happy about blocking maneuvers, it's Sebastian Kuhn. You heard him call out the sweetheart that is Vibeke Bertram for blocking, and I'm not sure she does that on purpose. So what you want to do, if you want to tilt him, if you got that to your advantage as they come on down now.
Yeah, and you just know it's going to happen. Block at the Rocket here is going to slam on the brakes at some point, and sort of see who can sprint it out. And you see a little bit of that happening there as well. He's so good at it. Block at the Rocket is so good at it, you almost can't tell he's doing it. So he's got a great skill there. It doesn't even come through on the video, but that's what happened to Sebastian there, and that's where that separation came from. Now, Sebastian has got the heart of a lion, and so it should be very interesting now to see how this race ends up.
Sebastian on the wheel here, chasing Jonathan Heron to get back on top. As you can see, you got Casey on my right, you got up above me the front, you got to the other side up here, you've got Casey Shum on the hill trying one last time to keep the chasing group at bay. But I think that could be the killer blow from the Block It Rocket. Got a 2-second gap here, and it only seems to be gaining out as Casey Shum further back. 800 meters remain, Frank. This has been an interesting race to say the least.
Absolutely. What you see here, Jonathan's absolutely in the hurt locker, but he does have all those power-ups I was talking about earlier. So unless Sebastian has a power-up here, I think it's going to be very difficult to maintain terms. Now, if I'm Sebastian and I don't have any of my power-ups, I'm like, well, I don't even know why you blocked me. You could have just left me standing still with your power-ups and taken the lead. But there is mental warfare in CVRcade as well, as we can certainly see here. And that's a part of the game, for sure. Trying to put people into a spot of bother, and I think that Block at the Rocket, that's his tool of choice. He wants to get in your head and rattle around up there, and while he's rattling around up there, right away from you. And he's done it really successfully here. Great tactics, great race by the Rocket, a nice win.
Since Jonathan can't be on stream just yet, I gave him a little bit of a victory celebration to sign off his great win. Allison does come around Casey at the end of the race, I think, to just nip him to the line. So all that work by Casey, Allison comes on by and says, I am still here, as she just takes those points away. And that's crucial, Frank, because we look at the scoreboard, Casey, Sebastian, they're fighting at the top, but that... I mean, those are points that Casey would like to have back.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. And so, you see all of these things happening cross-team and, people fighting for the minor positions. The whole Omnium setup that we have in CVRcade makes that gameplay so important. So those secondary positions often become, critically important. Those 5 points could cost Casey the overall victory in the next race, even if he does well.
Casey, even if you do well, those points left up for grabs by Allison there could cost you the victory. What do you make of that?
I gave it all I had. Kudos to Allison. I mean, I'm 2 hours in. I am completely crushed. I'm just holding on. Sebastian still got legs. Jonathan raced well. I mean, Allison sprinted at the end, and I pushed to try to make her give up, but she played it well. I'm running out of steam.
Running out of steam. This is not a good stage or good track to be on, to be running out of steam with 11 kilometers an hour to go. I'll let you get ready, get refueled. We've got Moti, who according to my scoreboard, with the bonus points, is actually leading virtually 2 points ahead of Casey. Moti, we saw in the last race you let go. Was that on purpose or the legs giving out? What's happening here?
Just accumulated fatigue, but with the Omnium structure, you're never out. I got some good rest, and this is my favorite course, so let's rock.
Let's rock. I like it. Good luck, Moti, coming up in the next race. And now we get ready with Ryan as well, 161 further down. Ryan, what's it like to race with Block It the Rocket out there in the mix?
Yeah, I mean, from the start of Roman Arena, the last race, I saw 6 of us in a big line. I think the Rocket was in second in that line, and I was in the back, and I was just thinking, I don't want to be in this line. I know what's going to happen. It turns out I use the bot patrol anyways, because I know they're not going to do that to me.
You never know.
Yeah, maybe once we have our smart bots, but yeah, he definitely brings a different dynamic, or at least some redundancy of some other dynamics we've seen, which always makes it interesting. But yeah, we're glad to have him here. Either way.
Good luck, Ryan, in the last one. You've got a chance to move up on the podium. You've got to fight the 3 ones up there already. But Frank, across the 3 zones today, we've seen some excellent racing. Honestly, it keeps coming back to this. We've raced for so long. Every day, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, this is what the riders have been coming towards now. Next week. For a lot of these people, $3,000 is good money to take home.
Well, and I think there's a little surprise. I think it's a little bit more than that. As I understand it, next week and then the week after, even more than that. So we're sort of leveling up here. Everything is going next level, and certainly the gameplay is going next level. Cade is something you need to ride to acquire the skills on, and then there's a lot of money to be had.
Here we go, Dust Bowl crit, 11km/h wind. Casey has not got much left. Moti took a calculated rest in the last track to see if he can overcome the fatigue here from 3 Omniums. The points here will determine who wins the Omnium, but also the bragging rights, because that's the main thing I think a lot of people also race for, is to be able to step off the bike and feel like, right, I did it, and now there's no questions asked, I am the undisputed champion of the day. But with as much as we race, those champions change every time. Nigel comes to the front here. He's got to do something as well, Frank. He raced good earlier, but I think he's leaving some up to be desired.
Yes, I think these are longer Omniums. I'm really impressed by all the riders, all joking aside, what they've been able to do physically. A lot of these riders are losing weight, gaining muscle mass, and they just look better, and they perform longer. And I think that is certainly going to be something that we see regularly on Cade.
Sebastian and Allison had gone over the top. I think Moti was just doing a bit of play for his teammates, a bit of cover as he finds himself far down the standings. He's just making sure to recover as we watch Casey. Now, Casey and Ryan are fighting out for second and third currently with Sebastian. I mean, Sebastian is a threat here. He just shows up in these secondary Omniums, in these second Omniums of the day. You'd almost classify him as a bit as a predator, Frank. I mean, he comes on when everyone is the most weakest and then just hammers down the nails.
Well, I think you'll see a couple of things here that is really interesting. I don't know if you saw it, but he took that first corner. Well, not the first corner, a corner just after the hill there, right to the limit. Him and Allison was like, nope, I can't even follow you. You're taking it so close to the limit. He went slid all the way to the outside lane. Allison just went over, and you see him doing it here again. This is masterful gameplay. This really makes it hard for people who don't know how to manage the corners at maximum speed to stay with you. And I don't know if you've seen this, but the Rocket has gone down a couple of times. On these corners, and so it really matters. And you think they have some magic right now. The Rocket probably thinks Sebastian has some special magic, or he's got some weird gameplay that he doesn't know about. But really, it's just the experience and the confidence of going through the corners. And Sebastian is obviously on a mission. Definitely wants to win by 1.5 points. Oh my.
Oh, Ryan goes down. But you know when you say it, 1.5 points, Frank? You know where those were left on the table? Roman Arena. Allison at the very end taking those points away.
Well, and they'll be virtually high-fiving themselves if Sebastian's able to hold off Casey here, for sure. and Casey will be smiling, knowing that they did excellent teamwork as well. So as I said, Casey, one of the best teammates on the planet in virtual cycling, will appreciate the teamwork of Team Cognition.
Now, Kayla with comeback kit. We also see Ryan Goldenberg, who had a crash earlier on. He uses his comeback kit as well to get back on terms with the front group. Now, he comes on through and he goes crashing down, just overshooting the corner with the comeback kit. We've seen it being used differently today. And Frank, this is kind of what happens. Somebody sees a cool new strategy, a cool new trick. You push it a few times, you fail a few times, but then it clicks and then you get better.
Absolutely. I know one of the benefits of doing back-to-back omniums is you can sort of learn by mistake in a couple of those. It looks like Modi has had a mechanical there, as you saw Ryan go by him and Modi go down to 0. But the yes, sort of repetitiveness makes you able to get there.
We've got Moti on the stream here. He was off the bike. I'm not sure what happened to him. I'll let him keep concentrated, but he was off the bike. We just saw a tiny head come up. Let's see if we can turn on the audio to Moti just to hear. We've seen him break the kicker before. What happened, Moti?
I dropped the chain. I had to go to the little ring. I'm so fatigued on these little climbs. So just another gameplay thing. If you want to try to avoid that, there's always a chance. So we'll see if I can catch up here.
Good luck, Moti, but that's next level, Frank. Dropping the chain from being so fatigued you have to go into the little ring.
Well, so here's the secret. Moti must be stronger than me because I use the little ring frequently. And it's not just about being tired. But so, yes, so just like outside, I think we've all thrown our chains outside. You have to concentrate when you're changing gears in CADE. You get the changing gradients, and you have to be good at that. It's also a skill that you have to have for CADE as well.
I love the fact that Moti just jumps off the bike, fixes it, gets back on, still hasn't been caught by the Pocket Rocket or Anish or Kim or Aaron. He manages on the climb to jump off his bike, reattach his chain onto the old system, get back on a ride, then does an interview, and happy as chipper as ever goes, oh, gameplay dynamic, what happens? I mean, that is just the embodiment of what the CADE racing spirit is like, as we see Casey with a comeback kit. 700 equalized watts here on the front from Casey.
Yeah, so he's not throwing in the towel. This is interesting. Sebastian was probably counting his chickens, and Casey said, "Don't do that. Don't count those chickens just yet. I'm gonna come for your eggs."
Now we see Casey with the comeback kit. 20 seconds is the gap. That will be a tough ask as 3.2 kilometers remain. Nigel Doyle, Allison, Caleb, they're all fighting to get back on terms. But what can they do? The 11 kilometers an hour wind is quite killer here, Frank.
Yes, boy, when that hits you and it hits your legs, you're just like, oof, like who did this? At least you can blame Mother Nature, no in particular human for the winds outdoors, but somewhere an event organizer set these winds up, and I tend to curse his name all of the time when I hit the headwinds.
Don't worry, guys, though. It's not of the 22 kilometers an hour wind on Mountain Bike by Jesper of the days of old. Those days are long gone, but that was one heck of a race back then when it was Tropical Storm CADE. Ryan and Kayla fighting out for secondary positions here in 5th and 6th. Next time we come to the start-finish area, that will mark the last lap of racing. It will also mark the last lap of racing here in the bracketed session, in the seeding portion of the bracketed session. You've given everything you've got. Make sure to recover Sunday, Monday, and then when you come to Tuesday, it's time for game day once more. But before we get there, you've got to finish strong here. You got to leave the bike with a good feeling, Frank, because you don't want to finish off the bracketed session in poor form.
No, you certainly don't. You want to have momentum going in. That being said, this is also physical. So from the physical nature of it, you also want to get some rest. So recovery is going to be critically important to these riders. Over the next couple of days, certainly a lot of rest so that they are ready to go out and perform on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Sebastian Kuhn still with a 23-second gap on the front. If it all does come back together, he's got his comeback kit, but it looks to be all set for him on the front. The secondary positions further back are still a Mitch. We look at the scoreboard. Moti and Ryan fighting for third and fourth, but Moti does have the advantage of having his preferred zone. We look further down with Allison and Nigel, 8 points to differ, and Nigel and Jonathan Giron separated by 0.8 of a point here. So I don't think Nigel would take too kindly by getting beat by Jonathan, the Blocket Rocket here. So we'll see them continuing fighting to the end, and we do see Nigel with a comeback kit here on the stretch. Final lap of racing. If you have enjoyed the bracketed session, there's a follow button just down here below the stream. Just quickly press it. You get a notification every time we go live here on Mixer. That's Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And next week, somebody will win $3,000 or a bit more. And the week after that, $5,000, or as Frank puts it, a bit more. But we'll see as the information gets made public. But Nigel Doyle sits down.
Ouch. So I think he was definitely trying to get back that 0.2, which I think will, what do you say, gall him because of the Blocket Rocket maneuvers from earlier. I think Nigel would have liked to have placed above Jonathan. Oh, but Jonathan went down. Jonathan
Again?
Went down? So no worries, Nigel. Jonathan's riding like a Cade cadet, so we won't even call him the Rocket when he does that. But, interesting here, you got Kim in front of the Rocket. Now I think you'll see the Rocket try and get back in front of Kim as well. Or maybe the Rocket has said, you know what, I think my legs hurt.
And rightfully so, but they continue to fight on through down here. And this is the awesome thing about CVRcade World Cup as well, is that these stories down here, these riders, they will talk together afterwards, and you'll see things that we don't really cover in the broadcast, because so many things happen that not everything, of course, can be covered. But Jonathan, Kim, they will start a rivalry, they'll start fighting on through, and every time they'll think back to that one time here on Dust Bowl Critters. Jonathan Heron, 1,500, look at them. I just hope that they understand that this is not their final. I can see Kim sprint. I think both of them think that was their final lap, but they do have another lap remaining.
Wait. Oh yes, we're gonna send them cadet medals. But I think Kim faked out the Rocket there, and so the Rocket's like, well, if Kim is sprinting, it must be the last lap. Oh, that was good.
Oh, that is, of course, because when you look at the riders nearby list, it has the leading riders distance remaining at the top. Sebastian Kuhn wins, hands down. Great effort from Casey Shum. Happy with that one. Done, cooked, out for the day, up for the count. Allison in third.
Did you just see Kim go down again?
Yes.
Oh, I am going to climb onto CVRcade riders and just have some fun at Kim's expense. That was awesome. He was moving quite quickly when he hit that corner. Let's just say that.
Well, it brings up all experiences for everyone. Ryan next over the line. We've got Nigel Doyle next to cross. Kayla Laguna in sixth. She's got Moti behind her. And with Moti's finish here, he will finish in third ahead of Ryan. But first and second, at the end of the day, will you believe it? Casey Shum ends up losing the Omnium by 1.5 points. Team Cognition, high fives all around, Roman Arena. There's of course other points as well where the points were up for grabs, but that is the one that really comes to mind as we watch Moti Beef Kelney finish off his third Omnium of the day. We tip our hat, but let's have a look at the replay one more time. But that was some really good racing all around. As we get to watch
absolutely.
Jonathan and Kim replay. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm going to try and focus on the top. Great racing by Sebastian. Certainly Casey, masterclass. Obviously put out a lot of energy in a couple of omniums. Looking at Modi, I think he's going to sleep really well tonight. But I think the teamwork, that pass at the last moment by Ellison, sort of doing that deep dig, changes the top of the leaderboard and puts Team Cognition at the top, which I think is fantastic as well. And sorry, I'm being distracted by Jonathan and Anise. The races for secondary positions on Dust Bowl Crit have just been absolutely awesome. And I don't think the Rocket's listening to the broadcast. It doesn't look like he is, but I think he'll have a lot of fun with it when he watches the replay.
Gotta love Jonathan, great sport as always. But Casey, second place, 1.5 points here. I mean, it doesn't get any closer than this, Casey.
Yeah, that was excellent racing. I think Sebastian gets the bonus points anyway, so I think I'm a solid second no matter what. Even if Ryan gets bonus points, I don't think he catches me. So in the end, a first and a second, and I think I was on the podium of every race that round. So I'm super happy with that. I mean, when you get into that second hour, you don't have the legs to chase those moves that Sebastian's throwing down. So to sit there in second place, that's the hardest 2 hours I've done in a long time. I'm suffering. I'm hurting right now.
Well, you deserve a well-earned rest and maybe a celebratory dinner for the positions across both omniums. Ryan, you come away. I think you end up just below Moti after bonus points are deployed and put out there. But you also did back-to-back races. Do you echo the words of Casey Shaw?
Yeah, it was really hard. I'm regretting that running outside warm-up I did prior to the first zone. It was sort of, I think it was around Roman Arena last race when I said, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. That was kind of the extra little few minutes of legs that I needed. But yeah, really hard. I'm definitely in favor of getting it all done in 2 hours rather than knowing how painful it was and then coming back in zone T or doing zone E and then coming back for K or L. That's, again, a tough challenge. But yeah, I think the numbers that you've seen posted in the riders group by different competitors are definitely impressive, just in general, but also, they'll tell you they're often personal bests over the durations that we ride. So impressive efforts all around. Casey, Sebastian, Moti, all the teams as well. Good job, everybody.
Thanks, Ryan, and thank you as always for bringing in the good spirits in terms of foods with the lack of the Swedish chef who now sits beside me instead of on the stream. Moti to round out the day, dropping the chain. It's not many that do 3 omniums in a row. Try and describe the feelings you get in the legs from doing that.
What year is it? Am I back? Did it work? Did they get JFK, or did we pull it off?
I think it's 2019.
How long was that gone for?
But Sebastian wins. You must be quite proud of that as a Cognition team member.
No, I'm super happy. I feel like we were just out there slaying dragons and time traveling and everything. I mean, what an epic 3 hours of racing today. Sebastian and Casey duking it out at the front. Man, Allison stealing those points on the previous track from Casey made a huge difference. It really shows how important teamwork is, and really proud of both of them. Proud that my kids managed to keep themselves occupied for the last 2 hours mostly, and just excited about what's next. It's been an amazing bracket session, a ton of racing, and the tournament's going to be wild. So really exciting to participate and to watch and to see what goes down.
Well done on great racing all around, and thank you so much to you and your kid for just making me like flat out just start crying of laughter. That does not happen often in the amount of streaming we do, so thank you very much. But on that note, as we see Sebastian Kuhn crossing the finish line, it's time to bring up all the highlights of the racing today here, as we've got some good ones. 2 zones back to back, concluding the bracketed session, seeding portion of the bracketed session the first 3 weeks here, as we see Niels Heldens, Ryan Goldenberg. First race, I mean, the story of the day is apparently math, and it's also which lane is the quicker lane, the inside lane and the outside lane. Not once but twice did Niels Heldens have to learn that lessons as he was rocking the Sky Kit today, and he was out with a mission here. He wasn't quite too happy with the earlier racing and how it unfolded for him, so he came back for more, he settled back up on his horse and got ready to go, as Casey Shum, as always, back in the stream with the charades. But the racing is evolving like no before. The way in which Comeback Kit was used today in the racing, in particular in Dust Bowl Crit towards the end, just as a booster, not necessarily an all-in play, but it's a power-up that you can use and you can break, it comes back, it brings you back up to speed. We've been racing, I mean, some of us have been on the platform since the closed beta days. That's over a year now, a bit over a year that we've been through this and tested out the platform. And to see strategies like this come through without really not seeing it before, and then seeing riders pick it up and trying to learn how to do it. I mean, we saw Moti execute it, Nigel to some degree attempted to, Ryan attempted to, and we saw several other riders do it as well. But here, the roller derby at the front, Kayla and Moti. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see it here, but I'm sure if you go into the physical replay, we can get a closer look. But Kayla Laguna forcing a mistake out of Moti, and you heard what Moti said as well. He was trying to do the exact same thing to Kayla Laguna, so all gloves were off. But Dark Matter Velo, it's not often it's in the rotation, but when it is, it's the creme de la creme. It's the top of the racing, the strategies that are required to perform well here. And lo and behold, today was the day that Ben Shuilong goes on to win Dark Matter Velo. It only took us about 9 million tries, but we got there in the end for the CCC team member Ben Shuilong, as I know he wanted this one badly, and he cannot believe it until it's all over. He's gone and done it. Primetime streaming. He takes the victory on Dark Matter Velo as Moti Bikelny with the hand gestures. I mean, the racing is just heating up. Jeff Rooney fighting on with the legs here. I do believe he did send me a message after the racing saying, Jesper, I'm absolutely cooked. And I think that line just gets longer and longer as the racing progresses. Casey opting to save his power-up, and the combinations of power-ups today really shine through. As we passed Timothy's Tears on Temple Run, the power-up combination saw Moti Bikelny, saw Casey Shum shot out of a cannon. Never seen that before. And now again here today, Casey waiting and waiting and waiting, because Weight Lifted is an interesting power-up. Most people use it on the hills because they assume that that's their best choice. But then perhaps maybe it's the flats here as Casey showed up. But Niels Heldens once more gets passed on the line from taking the outside lane through that corner. Last race up here in Zone K before we sign off from that and head on to the highlights of Zone L. You can see it was close at the top. Any of the top 5 could win the Omnium, and you could feel that in the air. The riders, they were antsy. They were looking around and they were just thinking, how can I not lose this? And sometimes when you think like that, you make mistakes. When you think like that, you end up falling down and end up losing. Yes, in the pre-race interview, Casey Shum said the key to victory is pressing 3 on your keyboard. Now, for the uninitiated, 3 in this race was Path of Least Resistance. It's a very powerful power-up, but when used in the right context, as we see in that interview with Ben, we heard from Ryan say no harsh feelings, but it was Ryan doing the block, and then Ben goes, Yeah, I don't know about if there's hard feelings or not. All I can say is, people don't forget. They may forgive, but they don't forget. So, what Ryan did to Ben there, if and when next week we raise for money and that situation comes up and the roles are reversed, Ryan will be hoping and wishing that he had not done that, because this week, it was just for fun, as you heard Ryan say, but next week when you're racing for serious cash and that exact situation comes up to play, you start counting up the tax. As we heard the same thing from Casey today, saying with Nigel Doyle, I may have put Peter Kastrup into the fence, as once more we see the inside lane versus outside lane debacle on display. Moti opting to go left, not wanting to give the draft, and just that bit of slowing down allows Ryan Goldenberg, for the second consecutive no-skill event in a row, taking the win, as Jonathan Herron, not quite knowing that it's a high-skill event and not a low-skill event, tumbles down as he attempts the block-it rocket maneuver, as it has now been called. And you gotta give it out, regardless of whether you're for or against Jonathan's antics and his method of racing. It's refreshing. It's great to have this breath of fresh air come in and just change his environment, because like the CVRcade racing community, it's kind of like under a dome. Like you have the same set of riders often go against each other in preferred zones, but then adding one new variable, as I mentioned earlier today, changes it up completely. And when he figures out how not to be a Cade cadet, I mean, he is a competitor, but I mean a real Cade cadet, he is gonna be such a force, because we saw it with Luis, Sober, and Nice. He came in, he could not keep his wheels down, he could not stay upright on the bike. But once he was underneath the tutelage of Moti Pikelny, suddenly he started understanding, okay, going slow to go quick, corner speeds, power-ups, teamwork, and now in Zone T, he has done some great results. I think we're seeing the same career trajectory here for Jonathan Herron, but the question will remain, which team will pick him up? I'm sure CCC, Velocity Vixen, Team Cognition, all the teams are quick on the trigger to say, Jonathan, do you want to come race for us? Because a block-it rocket on your side is better than a block-it rocket not on your side. As Sebastian Kuhn wins Tempo Run. Tough racing there, and he just had the legs over the rest and pushes it to the end. Then here, Dark Matter Velo. One of the best races, if not the best race I have ever seen on Dark Matter Velo, as Moti Pikelny, Casey Shum, and Ryan Goldenberg really put on a display at the front. Unfortunately, Kayla, you can see her screaming, going, no, as Anish just finds himself in trouble ahead of Kayla. The pure despair, you can feel that all the way across on this side of the pond. But this finish coming up, Moti, this, I mean, we all talk about Allison taking points away from Casey. This was equally as important. There were even more points up for grabs. And if Moti didn't do this, Sebastian Kuhn probably walks away with the Omnium, and Moti happy with the Dark Matter Velo victory. Hard fought battle, but I mean, the real MVP in that household clearly has to be Nathan, with making both Frank Garcia and I uncontrollably laughter on stream. That has gotta be the moment of the bracketed session, so we tip our hat to the Pikelny household for awesomeness as we watch the finish here on Roman Arena. And I do apologize for what you're about to witness, but I thought, since Jonathan Herron, the Blockhead Rocket, isn't on stream and available to do his own celebration, we would do one for him. So we dab, we do the best, a Glitter Queen dab, as Jonathan Herron goes on to win Roman Arena. Last race of the day and last race of the seeding portion of the bracketed session in the CVRcade World Cup. Physical esports at its finest. And if you've enjoyed it, if you are intrigued, more racing is coming up next week when the tournament begins. Make sure you are following here on Mixer. Make sure you are following over on Facebook, as more information will become available. Official standings, results, etc. all being posted on the Facebook page. We've just reached over 2,000 followers. Will you be the next one? Casey Shum emptied his legs today. And here we go. Jonathan Herron, Kim Fairchild, double duking it out with 1 lap to go, thinking it's the end, but it is not. And it is just adorable as they have 1 more lap remaining. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That has been your Saturday evening Zone K and Zone L racing here in the CVRcade World Cup. Again, I do remind you, if you've enjoyed it, make sure to click that follow button down below. But until Tuesday, when we'll be back with more racing this exact same time, we will see you. But no, Bethior goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.